So it all comes down to this: humanity's greatest heroes versus the demon emperor himself. This final attack goes off, a cataclysmic explosion of pure world-breaking power, and the entire battlefield just shatters under the sheer force of the impact. After all that chaos, the great battle finally reaches its end in the smoldering aftermath. Humanity's heroes are left standing, but the victory clearly cost them dearly. Glan desperately tries to heal Sovka, the Sage of Holy Light, but she is fading fast, and his knight companion tells him to save his energy. The wound is fatal and he is spent. Furious and in complete denial, Glan just screams at them all to shut up. But Sovka, with what little strength she has left, gently tells him to stop. She is at peace with this ending, a bittersweet smile on her face as she fades away. This whole team is just broken, remembering their promise to all make it back home together. But just then, Glan hears a familiar voice, the Demon Emperor's, somehow still talking, and it turns out they have been played, his blood and flesh now assimilating the victors. This was his real ability all along, a parasitic takeover of whoever lands the final blow. And of course, it is our boy Glan who is being turned into the new vessel. This demon's consciousness calls this his ultimate trump card, his one and only evolution. As a grotesque new form begins to erupt from Glan's body under the pale moon, he gloats that the heroes who beat him are now just raw material for his new body, and he has got his sights set on Glan, the strongest human, as his grand prize. His knight companion can only scream his name as the corruption takes hold. Glan's knight companion tries to force an end, begging to die by his hand, not as a puppet. A memory surfaces, pleading with Glan not to commit the great sin of killing a comrade. This voice gets more desperate, reminding him they are the only family each other has left. So the knight offers his own sword, begging Glan to stop this tragedy before it unfolds. But the demon emperor, wearing Glan's face, just mocks his hesitation, a real class act. Stealing his resolve, the knight points his blade forward, forcing the terrible choice. And the demon gloats that resistance is pointless, since half of Glan's body is already his. Then Glan smirks, suddenly understanding his friend's hesitation was not weakness at all. In a flash, the blade lunges forward with impossible speed, a blur of silver and red. And it is Glan himself who drives the sword straight through his brother-in-arm's chest. Holding his dying friend, he whispers that only the truly ruthless are worthy of this power. He reveals the gifted ability, Mountain of Corpses, which grows stronger with every life taken. With that sacrifice, the demonic corruption on his arm begins to crack and fall away. His other companion can only scream his name, absolutely horrified by what he has just done. This rest of the corrupted team seems to urge him on, telling him to make their sacrifices count. As he absorbs their life force, strange new markings burn themselves onto his skin. 1, 2, 3. Glan lets out a roar, channeling the souls of his fallen friends into overwhelming power. This demon emperor is just baffled, asking why he'd kill 3 friends just to free one hand. But Glan, now in control, says one hand is all he needs to solve the final problem. His solution is simple, elegant, and completely insane. He is going to decapitate himself. This demon emperor's consciousness is having a full-blown meltdown, screaming enough at Glan's insane plan, and with a clenched fist, he warns our boy not to test his patience any further. But Glan's half-corrupted face just stares back as he shatters the mental prison around them, revealing that even the legendary holy sword Sullah has been destroyed in this mindscape. This monstrous form of the emperor boasts that no attack in the world can harm his invincible shell. But a crack appears in his reflection as Glan's voice calmly cuts through the bravado. He basically asks if the sword was powerful enough to destroy him, why could not he destroy it? And then he just impales himself right through the chest with his own corrupted arm. Problem solved. This demon emperor absolutely loses it, screaming Glan's name as his hand begins to glow. And with that, their shared consciousness just erupts in a blinding flash of light. In the aftermath, the sun rises over the colossal, dead husk of the demon's final form, its fading thoughts admitting it underestimated the human who was fated to die by killing. Kneeling with a gaping hole in his chest, Glan laments that he could not save anyone he was supposed to, his hair now completely white as he looks down, utterly broken by his Pyrrhic victory. But then a new, heavily armored figure appears on the battlefield, calling the whole tragedy a pity. And just like that, we jump forward 5 whole years to a strange light streaking across the sky. Deep in a misty forest, a couple of demons are grumbling about their boss being gone for so long, with one clueless grunt admitting he was just told to bring 4 human girls and 1 demon kin. A mantis-like demon tells the idiot to get in line, revealing tonight is the 5th anniversary of the emperor's death. Then he addresses his followers, promising this year's memorial will honor their creator's great sacrifice. This mantis demon kicks off the ritual by ordering the slaughter of 4 human sacrifices, great party starter. With a single bloody swipe, he calls them pure offerings for their dead boss. This other demons immediately go to town on the remains, a real classy memorial service. Next on the chopping block is a lone demon kin whose blood will supposedly honor the emperor. We see the offering, a guy with black hair strung up in some seriously nasty-looking vines. He slowly wakes up, completely disoriented and wondering where the hell he is. His first thought is that he must be dead, which is a pretty reasonable assumption right now. But the mantis demon is quick to correct him, telling the trash not to move an inch. This guy keeps laying it on thick, calling him the weakest demon without even a name. Our captive is just stunned by this, processing the fact that he is apparently a demon. and his captor proudly informs him that being a sacrifice is the best he will ever do with his life. Just as the blade comes down, the weakest demon catches it with his bare hand. Whoops. He then snaps the blade and rips himself free from the vines in one smooth motion. This mantis demon is absolutely livid, screaming that he has ruined the whole ceremony. As the guy lands, the mantis demon starts to wonder if that was an accident or not. Then our boy looks up, calling the mantis a half-breed and asking if he has really forgotten him. A cold sweat breaks out on the mantis demon's face as recognition finally dawns, because he is remembering a much more terrifying version of this guy screaming his name, Glan. This scene flashes back to the mantis demon on a ship, looking like a total rookie. And we hear someone yelling at him to stop gawking and get back to rowing the boat. This mantis demon remembers being a lowly grunt, getting yelled at to row harder for the lords, and it turns out he was part of a massive naval invasion with ships getting wrecked by sea monsters. A surprise attack from the Lin clan using some kind of sea god's power to smash the coast. They even brought a sea dragon king to the party, a real showstopper of a monster. And humanity's only defense at the time was one guy on a dinky little raft. Of course, that one guy is a younger, much less traumatized Glan ready for a fight. A demon king himself descends from the storm, commanding the entire army to attack, and with a single swing of his massive sword, Glan gets to work on the demon horde. Stumbling through the wreckage, the mantis demon realizes everyone is dead, except for himself somehow, despite being impaled with a giant piece of wood. This entire fleet is just a graveyard of ships and bodies floating in the rain, and the one responsible for it all is Glan, looking absolutely terrifying and covered in blood. He just stands there in the storm, a one-man army who single-handedly stopped an invasion. So yeah, the mantis demon is currently having a very, very bad day remembering all this. Meanwhile, Glan gives a helpful anatomy lesson on crustacean demon weak points right before he demonstrates. He then realizes he has been resurrected, and his Mountain of Corpses ability is back at level 1, which prompts his audience of demon grunts to collectively decide this is a kill-him-now situation. Glan's counterargument is swift, brutal, and involves a whole lot of slicing, culminating in a massive X-shaped slash that just obliterates the entire mob in one clean sweep. He notes that killing 9 weaklings only got his power to level 9, a permanent strength boost for every kill. This last demon grunt is just frozen in pure terror, literally split down the middle. Its other half, a giant centipede, gets yanked back with brutal force, before a green blade skewers it right through the back, pinning it down for good. As the bug screams for mercy, Glan just calmly pulls a cloth from its body, and he covers the remains of the 4 human sacrifices, a quiet moment of respect. Kneeling in the aftermath, our boy looks down at his new demonic hands, still processing. He tries to cast a simple healing spell, something he has done 1,000 times before. But instead of healing, a nest of demonic snakes just erupts from his arm, not ideal. His hand morphs into a monstrous claw and the denial starts to hit hard. Looking at the carnage, he just cannot accept what is happening to him. He collapses into the pool of blood, completely overwhelmed by this horrifying transformation. This awful truth finally sinks in. He did not resurrect, he reincarnated into a demon. And he is absolutely disgusted with himself, calling this new existence shameful. His old hatred for the lowly race of demons coming back with a vengeance. In a fit of pure rage, he screams that their only purpose is to be slain by his hand. After venting, he collects himself, a cold, dangerous look settling in his eyes. He then spits on the ground in utter contempt for what he has become. But the mantis demon, somehow still kicking, starts monologuing about all the ways he will torture Glan. This guy is still calling him the weakest demon, completely oblivious to the danger he is in. Meanwhile, the giant centipede crawls towards Glan, with the mantis thinking a little intimidation will work. Bold strategy. With a brutal lunge, Glan scrambles up the giant centipede's back, blade poised to strike. But the creature's massive tail slams down from above, a wall of chitin and rage. And hunched in the bloody aftermath, he wonders what he has left to keep slaughtering demons. A terrifying grin spreads across his face as he realizes he has absolutely nothing to complain about. His thoughts drift to the fact that it has been 5 whole years since he supposedly died with the demon emperor. So his first priority is finding a place to lay low and figure out what the hell is going on. Climbing a massive cliff, he recognizes the skull of a giant troll he personally put down ages ago. And of course, the new demons have built their stronghold right in its eye socket. How resourceful. This entire landscape is dominated by the troll's colossal skeleton, a former battlefield turned into prime real estate. Sure enough, his memory leads him right back to a familiar cave he once used as a hideout, which seems completely abandoned, making it a safe enough spot to crash for a while. Sitting by the fire, he finally gets a quiet moment to process his horrifying new existence. And his mind flashes back to a younger, much less traumatized version of himself, carefully carving a small wooden doll with his own 2 human hands. He remembers his old party, all joking around while he gets mercilessly roasted for his new leaf pants, with one of his friends mocking his tailoring skills while Glan looks utterly mortified. And yeah, the whole crew is just dying of laughter at his very serious fashion statement. His face is a perfect portrait of "I am so incredibly done with all of you people," which brings a sad, nostalgic smile to his face back in the present, because he is still holding the little wooden knight he carved, now clutched in a monstrous, demonic claw. His monstrous claw gently touches the little wooden knight, a relic of a life long gone, and he remembers carving his whole party, a small, happy moment before everything went to hell. Back then he thinks his eyes are full of a pain that has not faded one bit, and in a fit of self-loathing he crushes the doll representing himself, wishing he'd been better. This regret is so sharp he literally bites down on the memory of his own failure. Snapping back to the present, Glan just tosses the last piece of his humanity into the fire, and the little wooden hero is completely consumed by the flames, a pretty on-the-nose metaphor. His old title, the one earned through a sea of blood, flashes through his mind. Since he is a demon now, he figures he might as well use it to tear them apart from the inside. But a sudden headache hits, flooding him with the memories of this body's original owner. Turns out the previous tenant was getting bullied for the high crime of eating meat. What a loser. This poor serpent blood demon was a serf, forced into farming and getting pushed around constantly. Then he sees a memory of a demon teacher giving a geography lesson, which is a massive curveball. While another demon uses the guy as a footstool while complaining about too much theory, demon school sounds rough. Glan's eyes just pop open because education was not on his demon bingo card. He always thought they were just mindless killing machines created by the Emperor. Yet in only 5 years, they have somehow built a whole civilization right under everyone's noses. Looking out at the world, he blames his own weakness for letting things get this bad. With renewed purpose, he vows to become stronger than ever and fulfill his promise to kill them all. And thanks to the memories, he's got a map to their local recruit training camp. Time for a field trip. Glan arrives at Round Mountain Training Camp number 2, a charming little resort for demon grunts. Inside, a very angry red demon instructor is giving a geography lesson he clearly does not want to repeat. And blending in with the other recruits, Glan quickly gets the gist of the current world situation. Turns out the demons have formed 5 courts and are now in a 5-year stalemate with humanity, so productive. This instructor then demonstrates proper teaching technique by smashing a student's face into the map. Moving on to today's lesson on talent marks, innate abilities every demon is born with. Both demons and humans apparently use a resource called mark power to fuel their special skills. And he lays out the power scale from 1 to 6 marks, telling the rookies not to even think about the higher tiers. To prove his point, he flexes his own 2-mark power, promising a world of pain for the 1-mark newbies. Glan realizes he is currently a 1-mark and needs to figure out what this rare serpent blood body can do. While the instructor adds that reaching 2 marks unlocks an ultimate technique called talent mark authority, fancy. As Glan tries to move, he gets shoved back by some other demons, clearing a path for someone important, and a blue-skinned demon with blonde hair shoves him hard, telling him to get out of the way. This guy is clearly the camp's hotshot, rocking a belt made of night pauldrons and a massive ego. He immediately recognizes Glan's body as the serf he used to bully, questioning why trash like him is even here. This instructor cuts in, ordering the serf to be kicked out before announcing the start of practical training. He lectures that raw power is not everything because skill and tactics are what truly decide a fight, and to demonstrate, he starts unveiling a massive chained creature for them to analyze for weaknesses. This blue bully grins, grabbing Glan and saying this is finally going to be fun, oh good. With a flourish, the instructor reveals a giant beast, one of the last 10 super demons the Emperor ever made. This instructor presents their training dummy, a howl demon, challenging the rookies to find its single weak spot. Glan, however, is already completely bored with this entire exercise. He decides to just dip, lamenting that he cannot slaughter everyone here to level up his corpse-piling skill. Making a big scene right now would be a terrible idea, so he is trying to keep his head down for once. But then the training beast's eye flares with a terrifying, intelligent light, and it snaps its chains, immediately going on a wild rampage through the recruits. This instructor desperately tries to yank it back, screaming at the creature to stay still. He smugly boasts that he has got its weak point, rendering the 3-mark beast totally helpless, a classic blunder. In response, the monster just gives him a very unsettling, toothy grin. It then speaks, mocking the instructor for being so naive and easy to fool. This dumb beast reveals it has been playing possum for weeks, and now it is time for a little graduation massacre. With a sickening crunch, the instructor's head is just completely caved in. A massive spray of blood confirms that class is officially and permanently dismissed. All the other demon recruits are just frozen in sheer panic, realizing they are on the menu. This beast then proceeds to tear through the crowd like it is an all-you-can-eat buffet. Even the camp's hotshot bully decides to bail, not wanting to waste his secret weapon on this. But as he turns to run, a hand clamps down on his shoulder. It is Glan. This bully hits the dirt, absolutely livid that the trash he was just picking on is blocking his escape. Glan just calmly wipes some stray blood off his pauldron, looking unimpressed by the chaos. In the background, the monster's rampage continues, but now our boy stands directly in its path. This howl demon roars that no one can escape its rampage, swatting grunts like flies, and on the ground, the blue bully decides it is time to bust out his so-called secret weapon. But the monster's attention is now locked on Glan, who is just standing there waiting for it. As 2 massive claws descend, ready to turn our boy into a red smear on the ground. Yet Glan just looks back with the most "I am so over this" expression I have ever seen. This sudden lack of panic completely throws the howl demon, which senses a bizarre aura, and it is genuinely confused why this weakling is not terrified, even wondering if he knows its weakness. This beast dismisses the idea since its 9 kin died ages ago, so no new demon could know its secrets. With its confidence restored, it brings a massive foot down to crush him. Deciding this has to be a bluff because there is just no other explanation. Glan remains completely still, a dark, menacing energy swirling around him, his eyes glowing as he delivers a very simple ultimatum: take another step and die. Enraged by the threat, the monster unleashes its primordial power and dives right at him. But Glan does not even flinch, just stands there looking like a total badass. A massive shockwave erupts from their confrontation, kicking up dust and debris, and the Howl demon just flies away, deciding it is not worth the risk. What a coward. Below, the surviving demons just stare in disbelief as their training dummy makes a tactical retreat. Glan then turns and calmly offers a hand to the blue bully still on the ground, who is immediately suspicious, still thinking he is a genius and Glan is just a serf. He scoffs at the gesture, absolutely convinced it is some kind of pathetic trick. This blue-skinned bully slaps Glan's hand away, absolutely refusing the gesture of peace, while Glan just calmly wipes his hand clean, not even giving the guy a second glance. This hotshot completely loses it, screaming insults about Glan being a worthless farmer, and meanwhile the other recruits are swarming our boy, desperate to know what trick he used on the monster. So Glan feeds them a total lie about reading a human manual on demon weaknesses. Stand still and they cannot see you. They completely buy it, even getting spooked by the author's name before running off to get themselves killed. Internally, Glan just smirks, inviting them to go test that theory and die one by one. But the bully is not convinced, accusing Glan of getting arrogant just from reading a book. And his cronies check on him, but he plays it off like he is just tired, definitely not terrified or anything. Once his ego is patched up, he orders his 5 goons to follow Glan and make his death humiliating. This little gang of thugs promises their boss a very satisfying show, their eyes glowing in the dark. Unbothered, Glan walks off into the misty outskirts of the camp, completely alone, when suddenly the 5 goons emerge from the fog, with one using a mist ability to trap him. All of them charge into the smoke, yelling at each other not to let him get away. With one of them, a snake demon, bragging that Glan's power is so weak his poison will be more than enough. Thinking they have him, the crew decides to split up to corner him in the fog. A moment later, one of the bigger guys starts screaming that a snake bit his stomach. Oh dear. Green poison immediately starts coursing through his body, making him swell up like a balloon. And with a disgusting pop, the dude just completely explodes from the inside out. This remaining goons are left staring in horror, realizing they messed with the wrong serf. This remaining goons start screaming as the poison mist burns their eyes, should have brought goggles. Through the haze, a shadowy figure moves, completely unaffected by the toxic welcome wagon. Glan just thinks of them as 5 lab rats, perfect for testing out his new body's abilities. Turns out this serpent bloodline comes with thermal vision, so the fog is completely useless. And from his arms, he summons spectral snakes that just tear right through the first 2 guys. While the others panic, our boy internally notes how versatile this new power set is, not bad at all. One of the last thugs, a big red demon, transforms his arm into a giant axe ready for a fight. Glan just gives him a look that says, I have killed things 1,000 times scarier than you. 2 of them finally emerge, with the big guy boasting that Glan is nothing without his mist. He then charges up his axe arm, winding up for what he thinks will be the final blow. With a massive swing, he unleashes a powerful black and red slash, putting all his strength into an attack that is about to be deeply embarrassing for him. His little blue buddy is just stunned by the outcome of that big move, but Glan looks like he is just waiting for his coffee to brew. 0 Fs given. Because the red demon's attack did nothing, and now he is the one getting sliced to pieces. His friend is now having a full-blown panic attack, realizing he is next on the chopping block. This last goon immediately drops to his knees, begging for his life, so Glan asks for a good reason. Our boy is not impressed, telling him that his pathetic plea is not nearly convincing enough. Desperate, the guy offers to lead him to his boss's secret treasure cave, a classic betrayal. This gets Glan thinking, since he needs sacrifices to unlock his second mark's authority. Following his new, very temporary guide, Glan decides to check out this so-called treasure cave for anything useful. And the goon points to the waterfall, promising all of his boss's best stuff is hidden right inside. But just as they arrive, Glan grabs him from behind with glowing eyes. Looks like the guided tour is officially over. He then shoves the poor sap forward, using him as a very effective meat shield for the cave's arrow trap. And with the goon now looking like a porcupine, Glan just gives a deadpan thanks for his service. Inside, the cave is just a long hallway lined with more arrow slits, a classic low-budget security system. Meanwhile, at some evil-looking skull fortress, a report is being delivered to the higher-ups. As a guard informs his shadowy leader about the Howl demon incident and the mysterious snake serf who handled it, this news reaches a purple-haired demon commander who finds the whole situation very, very interesting. Meet Bone Crusher, the leader of the Round Mountain territory, and she looks like she lives up to the name. Glan, meanwhile, finds the bully's treasure, a single, underwhelming box in a massive cave. He opens it to find a simple pouch, but is immediately interrupted by someone screaming at him to drop it, because the blue-skinned hotshot has arrived, charging in with all the grace of a freight train. He throws a furious kick, absolutely livid that some trash is touching his precious belongings. But Glan just casually blocks the attack and completely shatters the guy's leg in the process. Stumbling back in agony, the bully finally realizes this is not the same weakling he used to push around. He knows he is totally outmatched, especially with a busted leg in a narrow cave, so fighting is a terrible idea. And for once he makes the smart call, deciding it is time for a tactical retreat. Turns out his secret weapon is a talent mark that gives him wings, the rock feather garment. Glan just stands there getting soaked by the waterfall, completely unimpressed by another bird boy running away. Glan just sighs, realizing this bird boy is not getting away that easily, because he knows that avian demons are a special kind of annoying to hunt down. So our boy gets a running start down the cave tunnel, ready for a high-speed pursuit, and with glowing eyes he rockets out of the waterfall, dead set on catching his prey. Immediately connecting with a brutal kick right to the bully's stupid, surprised face, which sends them both plummeting out of the sky in a flurry of feathers, where Glan follows up with a savage punch, not giving the guy a single second to recover, and Bird Boy's desperate counterattack is completely useless, blocked like it was nothing. But their midair brawl ends with Glan getting blasted towards the water below, where he skips across the surface like a stone, which has got to hurt. And now a little bloodied, he tries to get his bearings in the strange lake. While up above, the bully mocks him for falling into this so-called bale lake. Suddenly, shadowy tendrils erupt from the water, grabbing onto Glan from all sides, and these monstrous limbs wrap around him, trying to crush him under the surface. As his opponent promises to enjoy the show as the lake rips him to pieces, what a nice guy. Explaining this whole place is a death trap formed from the bile of a powerful demon clan, and the tendrils squeeze tight, looking like they're actually doing some serious damage to Glan, who takes a nasty hit, spitting up blood as the pressure intensifies. But then his own power flares to life, shredding the tendrils and absorbing their dark energy, leaving the bully to stare in disbelief, finally realizing just how much strength Glan was hiding. This bully's still talking trash, saying Glan's strength is just from farm work, what an ego. But down below, Glan raises a hand, channeling all that absorbed energy into a counterattack, and a swarm of spectral snakes erupts from him, absolutely shredding the lake's tendrils to pieces. Bird Boy has to dodge for his life as the snakes now turn their attention directly to him. But he has still got time for insults, calling Glan a slow, filthy farmer, priorities right. His wings prove surprisingly sharp, slicing through a few of the snakes that get too close. And from the air he keeps taunting that Glan's worms are only good for tilling soil. His brilliant plan is to just wear Glan down from a safe distance, the absolute coward. While down in the lake, the remnants of the tendrils and snakes begin to swirl into a massive vortex. An absolute tidal wave of spectral serpents then rises from the water, ready for round 2. Raining down from the sky in a terrifying swarm that leaves him nowhere to hide. And in the middle of it all, Glan just watches, completely in his element. He then condenses the entire swarm into one massive, coiled serpent for a precision strike, which smashes directly into the bully's face with a very satisfying crunch. Our bird boy is completely stunned, wondering how Glan is suddenly getting so much faster, as the lake below becomes a murky soup of dissolved monster parts and dark energy. Internally, Glan notes that killing those things was not enough for a full power-up, but it is plenty to finish this bird. And with a terrifying grin, he promises to slice off the guy's skull cap the next time he blinks. This bully completely freaks out, calling him insane and pulling out a bow for a last-ditch effort. But Glan just blitzes forward, moving so fast his opponent cannot even process it. Bird Boy whips out a glowing purple arrow, screaming about how he is not to be underestimated. And firing his special magic arrow, he rambles about how fate must have given it to him for this exact moment. Glan just watches the projectile close in, his expression turning serious for a split second, as the arrow slams right into his chest, and for a moment it actually looks like it worked. But his spectral snakes immediately swarm the artifact, absorbing its energy like a battery pack. This whole snake and lightning mess then drags Glan down into the murky depths of the lake. And with a massive splash, the entire chaotic bundle of power disappears under the surface. One last hand reaches out before sinking completely, leaving the bully to wonder if he actually won. Standing on the shore, Bird Boy actually thinks his deadly thunder arrow finished the job. Oh, you sweet summer child. Suddenly, his pink-haired sister runs up, all worried and asking if her dear brother is all right. He immediately puffs out his chest, lying that he is fine and just handled some little thief. Of course, he is also clutching his chest, trying very hard to hide that he is still hurting from the beatdown. She hands over the pouch from the cave, saying she'd die to protect it since it is for his eyes. Meanwhile, underwater, the bully's thoughts reveal the arrow was not supposed to be this powerful as it gets absorbed. And Glan himself is confused, wondering why his body is suddenly reacting so strangely to the arrow's energy. His eyes are changing, becoming more serpentine as his own power begins to awaken in response. Then his consciousness gets blasted into a white void, the classic anime power-up dimension. In his mind's eye, he sees an infinity symbol, a sign that his power is undergoing a major evolution. And he emerges in this mental space with a whole new look, finally understanding what is happening to him. Turns out the arrow was a sacrificial treasure, and his greedy serpent body just automatically started leveling up. His body is just chugging that arrow's energy, unlocking some ancient serpent-killing power, and this first stage of his evolution is called the One Serpent Molt, a serious glow-up, which looks less like a transformation and more like a violent internal explosion of pure energy. Meanwhile, Bird Boy is already celebrating, convinced Glan is just fish food at the bottom of the lake. He is trying to act all tough and relieved, but the bloody mouth kind of gives away the beatdown he just took. But then the weather takes a dramatic turn and a monstrous foot steps out of the water. The siblings look up as a sudden storm rolls in, completely ruining their premature victory party. And Bird Boy seems to recognize this savage dark thunder, which is clearly not good news for him. Down in the lake, the water is just boiling with purple lightning, a pretty clear I am not dead sign, before an insane pillar of energy erupts from the depths, blasting straight into the sky, forcing the bully to shield his sister from the shockwave, which is a nice change of pace for him. He is completely stunned, realizing something just shot out of that lightning bolt, and his sister just points in terror, her eyes locked on something in the middle of the lake. Out on a rock stands a new challenger, wreathed in crackling purple energy and bad intentions. Bird Boy's face just drops, refusing to believe who he is looking at, because Glan is back, rocking a brand new, terrifying form that screams, "You are so dead." This two of them just stand there, completely frozen by the sheer killing intent coming off him. In his new fierce thunder form, Glan calmly announces he's been waiting to deliver this beatdown. He even admits it was his mistake while Bird Boy charges in, still screaming about farmers. But the attack hits nothing as Glan teleports behind him with a massive energy slash ready to go. That energy slash connects with a brutal impact, carving right into the bully's side. He goes flying, screaming about being tricked, as if that is a valid excuse for getting owned. And the attack just shreds right through his wing, leaving a bloody mess in its wake. Our boy just looms over him, complaining this chump is not even a good test for his new abilities, then sends the poor guy crashing into the lake with a massive, humiliating splash. His sister just watches in absolute horror, completely frozen by the one-sided beatdown. And she starts scrambling towards the shore, desperate to get to her brother. In the water, Bird Boy is just drowning in self-pity, whining about how he is not strong enough. This thought of his sister being next on the chopping block triggers a sudden power-up, because he erupts from the water in a pillar of golden energy, screaming his lungs out. Glan's reaction to this dramatic transformation is a completely deadpan peak disrespect. And it turns out he has unlocked his dove feather garb, which sounds way less intimidating than it looks. His sister is all teary-eyed, realizing her stinky little bro has finally awakened his true power, so she decides she is done holding him back, activating her own beast summon ability. Two giant, ugly-looking beasts erupt from the lake to back them up. It is a family affair now, and Bird Boy immediately fires off a falling sky arrow, channeling all that new power into one shot. Glan just stands there in the water, crackling with purple energy, looking completely unfazed by the light show. As he crouches down, ready to show them what a real power-up looks like, he then unleashes a massive beam of his own dark thunder, ready to meet their attack head-on, and the golden arrow collides with the purple beam in a massive explosion of power. This sister's summoned beasts roar into the fight, adding two more ugly faces to the brawl. And both sides' ultimate attacks collide in a massive explosion of purple and gold energy. But Glan's dark thunder just forms a giant serpent head and straight up devours their attack. As his viper bite continues on, ready to swallow the siblings whole, talk about an appetite. Bird Boy, seeing this, somehow thinks it is his big chance. Confidence is a hell of a drug, and he tries a sneak attack using some kind of insect decoy, which is certainly a creative choice. But Glan's energy field just shatters the projectile like it was made of cheap glass, so his sister quickly jumps in with a reinforcement spell to give her brother one last boost. Now glowing with borrowed power, Bird Boy unleashes his cloud-weaving storm, screaming that it is unblockable while his sister notes he is burning himself out for this final gamble. Glan just watches the attack approach, looking so bored you'd think he was waiting for a bus. Before unleashing his own Abyss Storm, a move that completely eclipses the other guy's light show. This aftermath is a total wash, with Bird Boy getting slammed into the lake utterly defeated, where he tries to give his sister the precious pouch, telling her to run for it. With his last bit of strength, he holds out the bag, his one and only priority, just as Glan calmly walks up, looming over the pathetic scene without a single scratch. This bully starts begging for the pouch back, and that is when we see eyeballs floating in the water. Yikes. As Glan reveals the awful truth, the sister needs to consume fresh eyes to stave off blindness. This two of them completely break down, begging for their lives and saying they will stop. But Glan just asks one simple, chilling question: did their victims get to beg for mercy? His siblings are completely floored by his question, unable to process the absolute lack of mercy. And Glan just holds out his hands, demanding a simple yes or no to their victims' pleas. They are left floating in the water, utterly broken by the weight of their own cruelty, until the sister finally whimpers that she forgot the all-time classic excuse for being a monster. Our boy decides he was overthinking it, concluding that demons are still just predators at their core, as their entire civilization is just a new coat of paint on the same old selfish violence. So with a savage bite of an apple, he makes his final judgment on the matter, while internally noting his new thunder form is a huge power-up but way too costly to use casually. Back in his normal state, he contemplates this new power, residual energy still crackling around him. Elsewhere, two demon guards stumble upon the siblings' bodies, thinking the recent storm is unrelated, because it turns out their heads were instantly vaporized by a lightning strike, a swift, violent end. A new purple-haired commander arrives on the scene, clearly annoyed about uninvited guests in her territory, while from the shadows of the forest, Glan watches the whole situation unfold. As she immediately lays down a new rule, she is personally investigating any more mysterious deaths. Glan just slips away, melting back into his harmless farmer disguise with a hoe over his shoulder. but the commander's sharp eyes seem to catch a flicker of movement just at the edge of the woods. She confronts him directly, but our boy plays dumb, claiming he is just looking for fruit to plant, and the commander actually recognizes him as the farm slave, mentioning she has heard the rumors. She then shoves him aside, saying there are more important things to deal with right now, before pinning him with her boot and demanding he find her some fruit for a pie. Talk about a new boss. Glan is still pinned under her boot, looking up at his new, very demanding boss, who leans in with a smile, threatening to turn him into a snack if he does not get her that pie. With her threat delivered, she just walks off, leaving him to contemplate his new job description. And internally, Glan is already analyzing her, realizing that brief contact let him gauge her power. He breaks it down. As a speed type, he is at a huge disadvantage against a defense specialist like her, meaning this new commander is a major threat, and our boy knows he is outmatched for now. Walking away, he is already thinking about how killing her would be a massive power-up, always on the grind. But he is also realistic, admitting the power gap is huge and his odds of winning are basically zero. Still, his serpent instincts are screaming at him, a predatory craving he cannot just suppress. And with that, his inner demon decides the hunt is officially on. Subtlety is out the window. Meanwhile, the commander is doing her homework, flipping through a talent compendium to identify the killer, and she quickly rules out a user of electric prison since the marks on the bodies do not match. Next up is Sea of Corpses and Blood, an ability that gets stronger with every life taken. But she dismisses that one too, still not connecting the dots to the farm slave she just met. Our boy is already scouting the wilderness, planning a patient hunt for the perfect one-hit kill. When he stumbles upon a couple of shady demons, worried their chief will find out about their side hustle, they pull up to a hidden spot with a covered wagon, confident that nobody will ever find them here. As a nearby insect bird thing dive bombs a completely innocent frog just trying to vibe, but the frog has backup because Glan just surfaces behind it with glowing red eyes. He calmly picks up the little guy, noting this spot is perfect for raising his stacks, and he is not talking about amphibians. Turns out the shady demon's side hustle is a full-blown black market hidden inside a cave, where a bouncer who looks like a rejected Easter mascot demands a special token for entry, and inside is a bustling street fair for all your illegal and morally bankrupt needs. This whole place is just teeming with sketchy characters and questionable life choices, with some old-timers complaining that you cannot even buy fresh humans openly anymore. The horror. While one vendor tries to hawk some legendary Anxi steel that is apparently just overpriced hype, because nobody can even forge the stuff, making it a very expensive paperweight. Nearby, a gator demon is selling potions made from human hearts, finally hitting the jackpot Glan was looking for. And we learn the new chief banned this whole human trade thing for resource conservation, which nobody buys, as her subordinates are convinced she is just secretly plotting some grand conspiracy. At the main event, a red demon auctions off human slaves, offering a discount on one because its eyes are missing. And a bystander connects the dots, realizing this merchant must have nabbed the siblings Glan just dealt with. This sleazy merchant keeps up his sales pitch, completely unaware of the Grim Reaper standing right behind him, so he is completely floored when Glan steps up and says he will buy the entire lot, despite looking dirt poor. Our boy offers the Fierce Thunder arrow as payment, which the merchant immediately recognizes as Bird Boy's ultimate weapon. And with the deal struck, the merchant's goons start leading the other terrified captives away. A small, blindfolded boy gets yanked along with the rest of the group, clearly struggling to keep up, before he trips and falls to the ground while the guards just scream at him to move faster. This poor kid just lies there, his foot bleeding, completely at their mercy, and that gator demon from before watches them go, whining that he wanted to torture one of them himself. This sleazy merchant assumes Glan is just another thief in a hurry to sell stolen goods. And he practically drools at the prospect of a quick profit, ushering our boy inside, as the heavy doors slam shut for their very private, very final business meeting. But the deal goes south immediately, with the merchant screaming as Glan's dark energy erupts. This guy gets absolutely shredded by shadowy tendrils, his sales pitch ending on a high note, leaving just a pool of blood seeping under the door to mark the transaction's end. Glan just strolls out of the room without a care in the world, job done. And inside, it is a complete slaughterhouse. He did not just kill the merchant, he cleared the room. Meanwhile, the gator demon is marching the human captives away, telling them to keep quiet, threatening to roast their tongues if they make a sound because he is a real people person. So Glan just appears out of nowhere and casually removes his head from his shoulders, reflecting that he has finally got some real power, though some mysterious count has just reset. One of the captive kids watches the demon's head hit the dirt, completely frozen in terror, and she stammers that he is a demon, fighting other demons, which is a new one for her. Internally, Glan notes his new Authority Happy Day ability failed to activate, a power with only negative effects. What a prize. He then faces the two terrified children who are still chained together, holding out the pouch of eyes to the blindfolded boy and asking if it is his. This kid immediately recognizes it, nodding eagerly, his one hope returned to him. So Glan tells them both to follow him, prompting the girl to ask about the leash. He then snaps the chain with his bare hands, saying he does not like seeing people on a leash. Glan sets up a little camp for his new collection of rescued humans and one very judgmental frog. And the other captives are ecstatic, one of them celebrating that Glan somehow healed his eyes. While he works his magic on the little boy, the girl apologizes for her friend's lack of manners. She then asks why a demon would save them, and his answer is the edgiest because I felt like it, which completely short-circuits her brain, leaving her totally speechless. He just tells her to shut it because he is busy having an internal monologue probably. Now in a cave, he wonders aloud how he should send them all off, which sounds super ominous, and an incredibly awkward silence descends upon the group as they all just stare at each other. This tension just hangs in the air with everyone waiting for the other shoe to drop. Finally, the girl breaks the silence, pointing out how painfully awkward this whole situation is. Then a light bulb goes off over her head. She has a brilliant, world-saving idea. She decides the best way to diffuse this "I might murder you" vibe is to tell a joke. And her joke is about a guy trying to game a half-price drink special at a tavern, with the punchline being that he orders the second drink first, a real knee-slapper. It lands with a thud as the other captives just sweat, completely baffled by the attempt at humor. And even she seems to realize it bombed, holding up a peace sign in the deafening silence. But then a single breaks the tension as someone starts cracking up, and the two adult captives absolutely lose it, loving the dad joke and making the girl cry with relief. Just as things get wholesome, Glan's tail whips out with lightning speed, wrapping right around the girl's neck as she screams in terror. So much for the good vibes. Just as everyone's having a good time, Glan's tail whips out to choke one of the adults. Party's over, folks. And his buddy is completely baffled, screaming benefactor. As his friend gets throttled, Glan just sits there completely unimpressed, calling them naive for trusting him for 5 whole seconds. Then gives the guy a very hands-on lecture about how demons are never ever to be trusted. This lesson is spelled out clearly: trust a demon and you will get a very painful, very permanent education. And next thing you know, all the captives are out cold on the ground, courtesy of his little test. Looming over the girl, the only one still conscious, he asks why she is fighting the poison. But she has already figured it out, crying that he only meant to knock them unconscious, not kill them. Our boy just stares her down, his face a total mask as she connects the dots on his twisted plan. And she calls his bluff, saying this was all a lesson, prompting him to ask how she is so certain. Her answer is a total gut punch. She trusts him because he is a good demon of all things. And while the little boy wakes up from his poison nap, Glan cuts to the chase and asks what she wants. Immediately, she declares she wants to follow him, but he shuts that down, calling her useless baggage. Not giving up, she proudly declares she is a swordsmith named Sullah who will not be a burden, and that name actually gets a reaction as he asks if she is Alexius's granddaughter. Her whole face lights up, shocked and thrilled that this scary guy knows her grandpa. So Glan explains they are old acquaintances, even revealing he held her when she was a baby. This scene shifts to a cozy-looking blacksmith's forge, smoke rising from the chimney, where inside her grandpa lays down his moral code. He does not make weapons for killers of kin or the innocent. Then he turns to a younger Glan, telling him he stinks of both kinds of blood, a scent that never washed off. In a flashback, Alexius tells a younger Glan to get lost, but our boy says Sister Daya sent him for a special sword, which makes the old blacksmith pause, clarifying if he means the one from the Sect of Mercy. And Glan just confirms he is with her, which is apparently the secret password to this establishment. Trusting Daya's judgment, Alexius agrees to forge the blade to repay a favor he owes her. So Glan hands over a statue from Daya, requesting it be used as the sword's handguard. Inside the forge, he is told to be patient, as a sword like this will take more than a few days. And Alexius mentions his daughter-in-law is due soon, so he needs to find a scholar for a birth blessing. Some time later, Glan is kneeling in the snow, having finally returned for his weapon. But he arrives to find the entire village has been completely annihilated, a lone sword marking the grave. Alexius is there cradling a newborn, and Glan just asks where his sword is. Priorities, I guess. This old man just gestures to the blade stuck in the ground, telling him to take it himself. Revealing the sword is named Sullah after his granddaughter, with her mother's statue as the guard. Glan then asks the obvious heavy question, what happened to her parents? Alexius explains they are dead, killed by a pack of monsters calling themselves the demon race. And our boy listens in the shadows as the blacksmith recounts the absolute slaughter. Then Alexius asks if these same demons were the ones who killed Sister Daya and Glan's lover. And with blood dripping from his eye, Glan confirms it. They took everything from him too. This old man grieves that the baby never even received her birth blessing, her life starting in tragedy. But looking down at the child, Glan's expression softens for just a moment. He then gives her his own blessing, wishing her a life free of suffering, a promise from one survivor to another. And his blessing ends with a promise to take her name on a killing spree, totally normal stuff. Because back then, Alexius asked if he wanted to swap the Mercy handguard since he is clearly not a fan. But Glan just took the sword and walked off into the blizzard, a man on a mission. Facing down an entire demon horde, he scoffs at the very concept of mercy, calling the sect's philosophy of healing the harmed nothing but a self-deceiving lie. He declares that he, however, will deliver a different kind of salvation, by slaughtering the wicked before they can even raise their blades to the innocent. What follows is an absolute rampage, cutting through demons like they are made of paper. A one-man army fueled by pure, unadulterated vengeance, just carving his way through the enemy ranks without a single moment's hesitation, leaving a literal trail of dismembered bodies in his wake. Until their corpses pile into mountains, with him standing at the bloody center of it all. Atop the carnage, he defines his true mercy as total annihilation, a very convincing argument, I am sure. Back in the present, Sullah peppers him with questions like why her uncle looks like a demon, and Glan just brushes it off with good skincare, then asks how she got herself captured. She puffs out her chest, declaring she will not go home until she has forged the ultimate demon-slaying sword. Her fiery determination literally reflected in his eyes as he takes in her vow. He actually encourages her to keep at it, which makes her absolutely light up with excitement. Then, with his demonic claws, he picks up a piece of charcoal from the fire, telling her it is good to have a passion, something he quietly admits he is envious of. He leaves a note for the other captives, posing as a heroic vampire knight to cover his tracks. And when they wake up, one guy is absolutely losing his mind over being saved by a legend. This three of them just sit on a hill, finally safe and sound after their whole ordeal, with the little boy looking up in awe, asking if their savior was really real. Meanwhile, Glan has returned to Sullah, dropping a massive anvil on the ground with a thud, reporting that he has dealt with some local demons and brought back smithing supplies for her. Sullah proudly shows off the makeshift forge she built, looking incredibly smug about her handiwork. But she is bummed because the best sword material is in a demon-controlled mine, rendering her skills useless. So Glan just casually holds out a chunk of the super-rare Anxi steel he found, which makes her immediately start fangirling, calling him a master thief for his 5-finger discount. After she boasts she is one of only 3 people who can forge it, he asks who the third is. And his eyes glow as he reveals the final smith is the current war demon king, Agricola. Sullah explains just how legendary this guy is, noting only 6 such weapons even exist in the world. This new information has Glan realizing he needs to get way stronger and fast. He tells Sullah he is heading out to continue his hunt, leaving her with her new project. While elsewhere, a demon minion reports to his chief about the slaughter at the underground market. This chief, a purple-haired woman relaxing in a hot spring, orders the bodies hung up as a warning. And when asked how to find the killer, she basically tells her underling to shut up and do his job. She then adds that if breakfast is bad tomorrow, the kitchen slaves will be executed, peak management skills. With that, she just sinks back into the water, completely unbothered by the chaos. This purple-haired chief is still relaxing in her hot spring, now craving some high-quality sugar, whatever that means, while her guards gossip about the recent unrest, wondering if powerful bandits have snuck into their territory. Glan listens in as they discuss how only a master could fake their power level to appear weak. And though one guard dismisses the idea, it is clear the whole camp is on high alert. Our boy, of course, is thinking that posing as a weakling is the most efficient way to level up by baiting idiots. Nearby, 2 demons find the body of another genius, noting a suspicious pattern of talented youths dying. This immediately piques Glan's interest because he knows for a fact he was not the one who killed this guy, making him wonder if there is another predator hunting in the same grounds as him. Just then, he stops dead in his tracks, sensing that he is being followed. His eyes narrow as he locks onto an unseen stalker. The hunter has become the prey. Standing in the middle of a deserted street, he scans the rooftops for his observer, and the entire village feels eerily silent, like the perfect stage for an ambush. He sarcastically wonders who'd bother tailing a lowly farm slave unless they are after his wheat farming techniques. A moment later, he spots a cloaked figure slipping around a corner, confirming his suspicions. Without a second of hesitation, Glan explodes into motion to confront them directly. He throws a punch, but the cloaked stranger meets it head-on with their own fist, and the impact shows they are on a completely different level from the usual grunts. Glan is genuinely shocked by their incredible defensive power, realizing this is a real fight. It turns out there is a whole team of them as another cloaked figure watches from above. He follows up with a kick that shatters a wooden post, but his opponent just blocks that too. Just as he is processing this, a massive wave of water magic comes crashing down from the rooftops, and it turns out his cloaked stalker is a woman who is absolutely not here to play games, who then proceeds to mock him for being a stubborn mule who is still standing after that. She grabs his arm, smugly declaring that she completely overestimated his power. But Glan's hand just starts crackling with some seriously nasty purple energy, which he immediately unleashes in a massive point-blank blast right in her face. Her cocky grin vanishes pretty damn quick as the attack hits her head-on, and the sheer force of it is enough to completely shatter the ground beneath them. This entire street is just obliterated by the power of his counterattack. But our boy is stunned to realize she somehow tanked it by reinforcing her entire body. She leaps away to a rooftop, putting some distance between them after that close call, then throws down a massive sheet of cloth as a very dramatic distraction, which billows down to cover the street like a giant, inconvenient blanket, and by the time it settles, she is completely vanished, a clean getaway. And surprise, it is the purple-haired chief who decides chasing him at his current speed is not worth it. She is already daydreaming about capturing him, debating whether to kill him or make him her pet, standard villain stuff. Meanwhile, Glan realizes he is not strong enough to even properly wound her yet, concluding he needs to find a way to molt into a new form to beat someone that tough. He suddenly clutches his head, a rush of something overwhelming him, and a painful memory of his past self, crying blood, flashes through his mind. This painful memory hits him hard, his vision blurring as he whispers Sullah's name. Back in the present, he finds her forge filling with smoke, dryly asking if she forgot a chimney. Sullah immediately panics, realizing the heat's out of control and scrambling to save her project. With tongs in hand, she pulls the glowing hot Anxi steel from the roaring fire. her face a perfect mask of "oh crap, do not mess this up" concentration. She quenches the blade in a trough, filling the entire cave with a massive cloud of steam. After the smoke clears, she proudly presents him with the finished sword made just for him. She holds it aloft, dramatically declaring it her masterpiece and the first angsty steel weapon of the era, asking Glan to bear witness, and he just watches with a quiet, intense focus. This result is a wicked-looking wavy blade, practically humming with raw, untamed power. He gives her the praise she is desperate for, telling her she has done well, which absolutely makes her day. Glan then points out the obvious lack of a hilt, and she sheepishly admits she is fresh out of materials, but he just takes the bare blade, insisting it is more than enough for what he needs right now. She even names it Little Sullah for him, a callback to his original sword, and he accepts. As Glan grips his new weapon, a sinister green energy begins to swirl around the blade, his body practically begging to absorb it and trigger his next evolution, the serpent's molt. But he holds back, knowing he needs the fully completed sword to reach his ultimate form. Sullah, completely unaware of his internal power-up drama, just promises to work hard on the rest. Later, she asks him to show off a cool sword move, but he says there is no room here to do it right. This next morning, after all that excitement, she is completely passed out, mission accomplished for now. Sullah wakes from a dead sleep, drawn in by the smell of something absolutely amazing. Her eyes pop open to find a massive, freshly cooked meal waiting right beside her. Completely stunned he can cook, she learns he picked it up while teaching at the Royal Academy. Meanwhile, Glan is deep undercover, carrying a similar platter through a demon palace as a servant. His destination is the throne room, where the purple-haired chief is waiting for her sugar. A tense stare-down follows, with both hunter and prey thinking they have already won. He presents the meal to the chief, who is way more interested in the delivery boy than the food. With a smug grin, she praises him for serving himself up, completely misreading the room. This chief lanes in, confident she is about to claim her prize, then makes the classic villain mistake of turning her back to yell at her minions. Glan instantly transforms, unleashing his new sword in a devastating surprise attack. Her cocky expression vanishes as she recognizes the legendary angsty steel blade drawing first blood. Now fully powered up, he promises her the next strike is going to be the last one. But she is no pushover, activating a defensive talent seal to counter his assault. A massive golden shield, the Dawn's Aegis, erupts from her arm to block his blade. His attack is stopped cold, confirming his suspicion that she is a defensive specialist. Through gritted teeth, she admits she is not a fan of this particular surprise party. Our boy just mocks her, sarcastically asking if he should have added more honey to his attack. He then unleashes an absolute storm of slashes against her golden shield, and the resulting impact creates a massive explosion of pure destructive energy. Glan's angsty steel crashes against her golden shield, the impact shaking the entire throne room, and with a smirk she notes his power is changing, but she is clearly not impressed. He unleashes a twilight assault, a desperate all-out attack meant to shatter her defense, but her shield morphs into a massive golden drill to meet his blade head-on. This raw, untamed energy of his sword grinds against her impenetrable spinning weapon, and their clash erupts in a blinding explosion that completely obliterates the floor. This shockwave tears through the palace, sending debris flying in every direction. She taunts him for just attacking recklessly, saying he will burn through his power in no time, while Glan internally calculates he has a few good hits left before deciding on a better strategy. He summons a massive net of lightning, casting a wide web of purple energy to ensnare her. But she just calls it a petty trick and casually strolls right through it, completely unharmed. Our boy realizes she is using an old insulation technique he taught humans, a move the demons stole. He is absolutely livid that this demon thief is using his own teachings to fight him, and she just cluelessly asks why he is getting so worked up about it. With that, she closes the distance and thrusts her golden drill right at his face, which brutally impales him straight through the chest in a shower of blood. She lifts him clean off the ground on her weapon, looking like she has already won, even mocking him for getting distracted during his own assassination attempt. But then his ancient serpent bloodline kicks in, unleashing shadowy green snakes from his body, and she dismisses it as a cheap trick, just as a serpent coils over her eyes to blind her. His bloodline resonates with the angsty steel, unlocking a sealed power called Requiem Steel, and seeing the serpent energy, the chief scoffs, asking if he really has the nerve to use that power. But Glan just declares the warm-up is over, erupting in a torrent of dark purple energy. A quick lore drop explains how a great hero named Ibis once fought a world-ending lava serpent, who ultimately choked the beast to death but was burned to ashes, a mutual kill sacrifice. Back in the present, the chief channels her own golden power, preparing for his next move, her eyes widening in panic as she realizes she is a split second too late to counter him. Glan spots a fatal opening as she switches from offense to defense, and he goes for it, landing a direct, brutal hit that impales her straight through the chest. With cold, glowing eyes, our boy thinks he has finally finished the job. But she just grabs him, grinning through the pain and declaring she has finally got him. Her arm transforms into a massive golden gauntlet, unleashing the hand of final will, and she winds up for a point-blank punch that is meant to turn him into a fine paste. This blow connects with brutal force, catching Glan completely by surprise, and the impact is enough to shatter the entire floor, sending him flying backwards. Glan realizes his ribs are shattered and organs are ruptured. He needs to escape and heal now. His shadowy serpent tendrils try to grab her fist, but her power just plows right through them, and now she has got him in a lock, mocking his attempt to use technique against her raw power. But Glan, ever the strategist, says he is an experienced fighter who is fine with some groundwork. And just like that, he uses her own momentum to flip her clean over his shoulder. With Glan completely pinned, she is almost impressed he can take this much punishment. And a classic villain smirk follows as she says it'd be a total waste to just kill him, so she grinds her heel right into his chest just to really rub it in. Then comes the totally reasonable job offer, asking if he'd like to work for her. Glan's silent death stare is all the no she needs to hear, so she decides to end it, winding up and unleashing another one of her golden, earth-shattering punches, which connects with brutal, point-blank force, clearly meant to vaporize him on the spot. He is sent flying like a ragdoll, blasting straight through the palace walls and into the sky, and the sheer force sends him clean out of the tower and into the open air. While hurtling through the sky, he spots a giant skull landmark and aims right for it, plummeting straight down and punching a massive hole through the top of the bone structure. Looking down from the hole, the chief scoffs that his sword is the only thing that saved him, but she is absolutely convinced there is no way he could have survived a hit that severe. Of course, he is not dead. He is already using a healing art mid-fall to patch himself up. And a moment later, he lands inside the giant skull, cracking the ground with the impact. Outside, the massive skull just sits there, a perfect, secluded arena for what is next. Then a massive sphere of purple energy starts crackling into existence high above the landmark. And inside, Glan is drawing all that power into his sword, getting ready for a big one. Having just arrived on the scene, the chief immediately recognizes the technique and starts to panic, as he unleashes the Phantom Thunder, a devastating bolt that drills right through the skull's eye socket. She screams about him being a filthy demon, which is just a spectacular lack of self-awareness. As Glan's Phantom Thunder comes crashing down in a massive column of pure destructive energy, and the impact absolutely vaporizes the throne room in a blinding flash of purple light, a blast that tears straight through the entire tower, blowing the roof clean off. After the chaos, the ruined palace stands eerily silent under a single beam of light, and amidst the rubble, Glan stands as the sole survivor, the dust settling around him. With the chief's body lying motionless behind him, he looks every bit the victor. His glowing green eyes narrow, confirming the kill is complete, or so he thinks. But a voice from the smoke admits that if she had not used a special move, he'd have won, revealing he is the first person in 2 years to push her this far, which is not the compliment he hoped for. With that, she summons her trump card, the Undying Battle Banner, a massive glowing seal, which apparently absorbs and redirects attacks, and she tells him to be proud of forcing her hand. Glan instantly recognizes the banner, and his confidence takes a serious nosedive. Just as a different woman with massive pink claws appears, ready to strike him down, she lunges, screaming that she is sending him and his pride straight to hell. But Glan just calls out the name Faye, and the attacker freezes, looking like a confused kid. This chief is back to normal, clutching her head in confusion as the attack completely fizzles out, and Glan touches a strange mark on his neck, hinting at a much deeper connection here. Elsewhere, a group of heroes discusses meeting up with a legendary demon slayer named Jelong, and one of them spots a weirdly round mountain in the distance, not realizing it is the skull from the fight. This group's weirdly round mountain suddenly starts to rumble and shake, and its eyes flare to life with a menacing red glow, so not a mountain noted. This thing stands up, revealing a colossal troll body that was buried underground, and it immediately starts screaming in agony, clutching a massive wound in its chest. This poor guy is also super confused about the new, very pointy hole in his head, which one of the heroes instantly recognizes as the work of the Skyfall sword technique. A move we see in a quick flash, a beam of light absolutely wrecking the troll's skull. That beam drilled straight through its head like a celestial laser pointer of doom, and with its brain scrambled, the giant stone body begins to crack and give way, sending the whole kaiju-sized creature toppling right on top of our new heroes. This masked woman in the group steps up, conjuring a golden light to protect everyone, unleashing a massive defensive bubble just as the troll comes crashing down on them. Its giant hand smashes against their shield, the impact shaking the entire landscape, and after the dust clears, the once mighty troll is just a pile of smoking rubble. Looking up from the wreckage, the heroes see the sky through the troll's obliterated face, all of them standing unharmed inside their golden shield, taking in the absolute devastation. Blood pours from the shattered remains of the troll's head, confirming the kill, when a man covered in gore rises from the corpse looking less than thrilled. Through blood-soaked eyes, he asks if they are the backup he was promised in a letter, and the blonde hero tries to de-escalate, saying they are all comrades now, a bold opening line. Through blood-soaked eyes, this Jelong guy says drawing a line between them is for the best. And the blonde hero just watches him slump against a wall, leaving a Rorschach test of gore. As a quick flashback reveals their past, with Jelong warning that deep feelings are just a liability, then he glares up at the massive armored knight in their party, completely unimpressed. But the knight, ever the idealist, says he does not agree with that loner philosophy at all. So Jelong just shuts him down cold, saying his opinion is completely irrelevant. Ouch. And with that, he turns and walks away, leaving a literal trail of blood behind him. While our blonde boy tries to apologize for his new friend's prickly personality, but the knight just declares any chance of friendship is officially dead on arrival. Meanwhile, back in the ruins, Glan is found by Faye, who looks incredibly relieved, and he manages a weak smile, confirming that yeah, he is somehow still kicking, so she immediately rushes in for a hug, just ecstatic that he is actually alive. Which turns into a full-on, never letting go kind of embrace after years apart, and he even points out she is crying, teasing that she has gotten soft on him, but she just tearfully admits she never thought she'd see another comrade again, which triggers a wave of guilt in Glan, who apologizes for his past failures, though their moment is cut short when two guards burst in, screaming for their chief. And they find Faye standing alone in a spotlight, looking like the final boss they should not mess with. So she tells them to scram while she recovers as they gossip about the insane fight that just happened, with one guard whispering that the chief was crying in pain and the other telling him to shut up, solid career advice. With the fight over, Glan uses a healing spell to mend Faye's injuries, and she immediately starts psychoanalyzing him, asking if he feels guilty for their past. Then tells him to stop nagging like he used to, which he takes with surprising self-awareness. But the healing hurts and she whines about the pain, explaining why she used to wear heavy armor. As they settle in for a chat, Glan prepares some fruit for them to share, revealing he thought only he and his sister Fea were reincarnated demons, which leads to the most important question of the day: so, you changed sex? He is genuinely confused how she became a female demon while she just calmly eats her snack, giving him a look that is one part pity, two parts you cannot be serious, before dropping the bombshell that yeah, she was always a woman. And Glan's entire worldview just shatters into a million tiny, embarrassing pieces, leaving him completely speechless as the realization finally sinks in. She just cannot believe he knew her for years and somehow missed this one tiny detail. Which sends him into a spiral, remembering how he just assumed she was some guy hanging out with a knight. So he has to ask if anyone else knew, and her answer is a brutal everyone knew. His next question is why she never told him, and her comeback is just perfect. You never asked, because our boy thought GAE was a military rank, not, big sister, a solid cultural miss. Their chat is interrupted by a sleeping kid who Glan explains is a swordsmith's granddaughter. Nearby, Faye spots a set of small wooden carvings on a barrel, and as she counts them, she realizes with a sudden chill that one of the figures is missing. Faye turns her attention to the carvings, her expression turning grim, and crushing one underfoot, she demands to know why he tortures himself like this. For Glan, it is a simple reminder to do better this time around, a classic emo hero answer. With a confident smirk, he vows to protect everyone and finally eradicate evil. But his big speech is met with a burst of laughter from Faye, who is not buying it. She scoffs at the idea that he could possibly pull that off all by himself, then offers her help, saying she is always down for kicking some bad guy butt. And with a classic bone-crushing handshake, the old team is officially back in business. Their clasped hands seal the pact, a silent promise between two old comrades, as the camera pans back to the barrel, showing the carvings of their former party. We get a close-up of the four of them, a tiny monument to a past life. Later, Faye explains she's been secretly assassinating demon prodigies to maintain control, which is a tough gig, especially since the current demon king is a total mystery who does not govern. On top of that, she admits the demon race's basic instincts for slaughter have been bothering her. And Glan agrees, saying he has also noticed their demon nature has changed him a bit. Naturally, Faye is curious and asks him exactly how he is different now. So he says he's become milder and less creative with torture, which is not the answer she expected. Their chat is interrupted by the little girl, who wakes up and asks who the big sister is. Faye immediately melts, pinching the kid's cheeks and gushing over how cute she is. And after Glan introduces her as Fea, another reincarnate, Faye asks why Uncle Jelong dressed her so poorly. Faye tells them to pack their things, offering up her hidden and spacious basement as a new hideout. So they head down into her surprisingly well-lit evil lair, which is a nice touch, where she is immediately impressed by the massive conspiracy board Glan's been building for 2 years. This thing is a whole Demon King hit list with generations of targets crossed off one by one. Glan then immediately complains about Faye dressing Fea up, telling her not to treat the kid like a doll. But Fea looks absolutely adorable in her new outfit, even if she knows it is not exactly battle-ready. Faye's super proud of her handiwork, while Glan admits he thought she was just weaving grass skirts this whole time. And the little girl checks herself out in the mirror as Faye defends the island vibe of her creation. Their whole conversation devolves into chaos as Faye dodges flying objects while suggesting a hair accessory. And for the first time in a while, Glan actually cracks a genuine, non-homicidal smile. His good mood is interrupted when he pulls out a glowing conch shell, calling it an artifact of the Soul Sea, which Faye immediately recognizes as a powerful ancient artifact, not just some pretty shell he got as a toll payment. Apparently, this thing lets you dive into someone's soul and watch their past memories like a movie. So basically, it is a high-tech magical tool for peeking at someone else's secrets. Glan's big idea is to use it to revisit the moment of their deaths from their past lives, because he remembers feeling like something was off right before he died but was too weak to figure it out. He wants her to enter his soul and see if whatever happened then is the key to their reincarnation. Faye agrees without hesitation, though she looks like she is bracing for a serious psychic impact. But with a look of pure determination, she steels herself and says they are doing this now. Then in a cute chibai moment, he says he will attach the other half, and she is just like, The other half, Glan explains the soul-diving artifact needs both halves, but Faye sheepishly admits the other one's gone. Turns out a local demon bandit gang stole it, which is a super embarrassing problem for a supposed chief. He asks why she has not just crushed them, and she confesses her tracking skills are basically non-existent, which prompts Glan to roast her for completely ignoring the stealth lessons he gave her years ago. He even calls out her secret assassinations, saying her clumsy attempts were painfully obvious to everyone. Faye starts crying and promises to practice, but he just yells at her to start training immediately, no excuses. Meanwhile, at the bandit camp, a bunch of goons are enjoying their ill-gotten gains around a fire. They are bragging about all the food and wine they have looted, living large now that the local lords are gone. Inside a tent, their leader is getting cozy, talking about slowly building up their power for a bigger fight. His grand plan is to eventually take on the evil dragon of the no man's land, big dreams for a small-time crook. A couple of his men haul in 2 heavy crates, loot they just snagged from a serpent's nest. As they carry the mysterious boxes into the camp, they have no idea what is waiting inside, because our heroes have pulled a Trojan horse, hiding inside one crate to infiltrate the base, gross metaphors and all. 2 guards debate their next move, one wanting to attack while the other worries about their numbers. Their main concern is losing the other half of the soul conch if someone escapes in the chaos. They decide to scout first, also eyeing some human ballistas they want to steal for their dragon problem. One of the bandits carrying their crate sits down for a rest, completely unaware he is on a ticking time bomb. His buddy agrees with his plan to let their enemies weaken each other before they strike, and right on cue, the crate beneath him absolutely explodes, sending him flying in a shower of splinters. Leaving him to stare up at a pale figure rising from the wreckage, who just asks if the box is empty. Inside the crate, Fea unleashes her serpent bloodline, getting ready for a fight, and Glan points her toward their target, who is chilling by the campfire, giving them a perfect view of the bandit leader and his crew from their hiding spot. This leader himself is showing off the stolen soul conch, planning to trade it for weapons. But his companion informs him that the black market he is aiming for just got wiped out awkward, and just then the leader senses a dark presence, turning to see Glan right behind him. With the conch located, Glan gives Fea the all-clear to just crush everyone else. She immediately bursts out of the crate in her demon form, smashing a guard into splinters, then grabs another by the head, complaining they ate all the good food, a truly heinous crime, which she promptly punishes with one hell of a punch to the gut. Fea stands over the carnage as the remaining bandits slowly start to circle her, prompting the terrified leader to blame his snake demon companion for leading them here. He grabs her, looking like he is about to take a hostage, but instead he runs for his life, screaming that she is the real villain, a truly pathetic escape plan, which his former partner immediately shuts down by slicing him clean in half. Landing with bladed feet, she calls him a disgrace, admitting she was tired of him anyway. She then turns to Glan, holding up the soul conch with a tempting offer, promising to be his new boy toy if he can manage to snatch it from her hands. Glan's answer is to just power up and blitz her, clearly not interested in her sales pitch, leaving the remaining bandits completely stunned that their boss was just taken out in an instant. Glan immediately starts training Faye, pointing out she is still stuck in her old, predictable fighting habits, explaining that her talent seal is actually perfect for integrating both offense and defense seamlessly, and since her power is a weapon transformation type, he has got some advanced techniques to share, which apparently involves injecting his power into her via a venomous snake bite, a very normal teaching method. He tells her to just feel the energy circulate to understand a whole new way of fighting, giving her a quick crash course before leaving her to figure out the rest on her own, and she immediately gets it, manifesting a massive golden shield to block an incoming blow, looking pretty pleased with herself as she masters the new skill in record time. With the conch secured, Glan tells Conservative it is time to go back and get this show on the road. While Fea is just completely passed out in a food coma, drooling with a frog on her head, Glan explains the soul conch is a delicate, one-use-only artifact for their trip down memory lane, but Faye just gives him a look of pure confidence, telling him not to worry. He holds the glowing shell, telling her to brace herself as he prepares to activate it, and a massive wave of spiritual energy erupts from the conch, swirling around them, transporting them into the misty, ethereal landscape of his soul. His only advice is a super helpful do not look at things you are not supposed to see, which Faye immediately dismisses, wondering what kind of secrets he could possibly be hiding. And right on cue, a horrifyingly giant statue of an impaled man erupts from the psychic waters, giving her a very grim close-up of its tortured, lifeless face. She identifies it as the god of mercy, then lands a perfect deadpan roast about how merciful Glan is. Faye is confused to see his soul form, and he is just like, "Yeah, it is my soul, I live here." Suddenly, they are plunged into a chaotic vision of a massive, world-shattering battle from the past. His spectral self just points her forward, telling her to go witness the memory for herself. So she steps into the light, heading straight into the final moments of his previous life. This memory kicks off with a flash of golden light as a sword strikes a decisive blow. Faye finds herself watching the aftermath of her own death, seeing a giant's corpse dissolve into goo. Then the scene rewinds to show Glan falling into a pit of darkness, shattered and broken. In his final moments, he was completely cornered and impaled by some shadowy evil. Desperate, he activated a backup plan, borrowing someone else's authority just to survive. This last-ditch effort was a technique called cruel samsara body snatching, which sounds super ethical. Its whole purpose was to reincarnate his soul into a new demon body to continue his fight. But something went horribly wrong and the reincarnation spell shattered before it could fully form. He realizes someone interfered, messing with his one ticket out of death's door. And the culprit was Savka, another one of their old party members, now lying dead in a pool of blood. With the reincarnation ritual interrupted, the consequences are a complete and terrifying mystery. Whatever happened, though, it was enough to let the entity behind the spell keep on living. Faye puts it all together with dawning horror. The demon emperor also reincarnated. This memory shatters around her like glass, the vision ending abruptly and violently. Thrown back into the main soulscape, she is frantic to warn Glan about this massive reveal. But she is surrounded by a fresh new hellscape of hanged corpses and skulls. Glan's got issues. A voice claiming to be Glan calls out to Faye from the psychic gloom, offering her an exit. And across the sea of red, a tiny silhouette of him confirms its identity, which is not reassuring at all. But the real Glan screams at her not to look, warning her that it is a trap, because that little decoy is bait for a massive, grinning shadow monster erupting from the depths. And the soul beast opens its horrifying, spiraling maw ready to devour her whole. With a flash of light, she seems to break free as the monster's attack shatters around her. Just as Glan's actual soul form appears, yelling at her to snap out of it and get out of there, forcefully yanking her out of the vision and back into the real world with a blast of energy. Shaken, Faye lands on the floor and demands to know what that nightmare fuel was. But Glan completely dodges the question, asking if she learned anything important about their deaths. She drops the bombshell. The demon emperor's power is to assimilate his killer, and someone else was using it, which makes him realize with pure rage that the emperor himself was the one who sabotaged him. Faye insists they have to find the reincarnated emperor before he destroys the world all over again. And the conspiracy board lays it all out, a complex web of power with the demon emperor at the very top. Then she remembers something else and he immediately asks what she is holding back. So she looks him dead in the eye and asks the million-dollar question, where is Savka? He plays dumb, claiming he was too busy dying to notice what happened to their traitorous friend. So Faye tries to deflect by grabbing a random kid and suggesting dinner, a truly masterful subject change. But Glan is not letting her off the hook, telling her to stop dodging the question. And he gets right in her face, demanding she just tell him the truth about what she saw. Cornered by his intense stare, Faye struggles to explain what she saw about their old friend, admitting she has no idea how to even begin, with Glan just waiting impatiently, which throws her into a flashback of a much happier Savka, proudly holding a giant fish she caught. While she and a blonde companion watch two other party members having a quiet moment by a campfire, but their heavily armored friend Faye steps in, telling them not to interrupt, calling the guy a married man, which prompts the blonde to deadpan that this explains his own divorce, a legendary cell phone. This memory zooms in on the campfire, where a blindfolded man asks his warrior companion why a mark on his eye is gone. And he explains that a count appears on his face whenever he kills someone he did not want to. A grim tally that only vanishes when he manages to feel true happiness again. This blonde friend remarks how great it is that he has found a sense of home again after reuniting with Marovich, while the blindfolded man praises Faya for being a surprisingly considerate and straightforward guy, even gushing about the little girl, saying her presence makes every day a happy one. But his friendly tone completely vanishes as he turns his attention to someone else, looking right at Marovich with a sudden, chilling intensity. Back in the present, Faye finally reveals what she saw, that Savka's fate is different from theirs, and Glan just grimly accepts it, declaring it is just another blood debt he will have to collect. He then turns to his conspiracy chart, tracing the lines of power that all lead to the demon emperor, vowing that this particular debt will be paid in blood as he smashes his fist through the board. Meanwhile, at some fiery border village, a centaur demon is whipping a poor soul in a blood-soaked arena, all while flexing and claiming his brilliant training method is just basic weightlifting, peak demon logic right there. A father desperately tries to comfort his daughter, promising help is on the way, but the centaur just cackles, announcing he is about to speed things up. What a great guy. And the two are then hoisted into the air, with the man screaming in pure agony. Suddenly, a mysterious newcomer appears, lamenting that their first sight upon awakening is human suffering, while the poor guy can only stare in absolute soul-crushing terror. And just like that, the centaur is yanked to a dead stop by the very rope he was using. He is completely baffled, having no idea who could possibly be strong enough to stop him. Because it is the newcomer, holding the rope with one hand like it is absolutely nothing. So the centaur and his crew immediately square up, not realizing they are about to be deleted from the story. This savior apologizes for being late and letting the man suffer needlessly, then immediately ends his suffering by making his head explode, the ultimate mercy killing, I guess. Because this is Sumurialist, the demon emperor, and their sincerest apologies are apparently fatal. This child is left standing over her father's body, now an orphan courtesy of the new management. Her remaining demons start closing in on the kid, probably thinking it is their turn for some fun, but the emperor turns on them, wondering why her own creations have become so depraved. She scolds them for enjoying cruelty instead of just efficiently exterminating lives as instructed. Deciding they have made a mistake upon mistake, she prepares to issue a company-wide correction. Her followers panic as she unleashes her talent seal, My heavy sin, which sounds very ominous, and a single move. All punishing extinction completely obliterates every last one of them. Standing in the aftermath, the Emperor reflects on how a battle 5 years ago led to this very moment. This demon Emperor recalls her final battle with Glan, calling him unforgettable, which is certainly one way to put it. She remembers that assimilating him revealed his deepest secrets, a total violation of psychic privacy. And in a moment of pure villain delusion, she laments that he never got to understand her heart too, because if he had, they totally could have been friends, a classic speech from a world-ending tyrant. Just then, a white-haired knight charges into the burning village, blaming herself for arriving too late, and she stops dead in her tracks, horrified by the absolute devastation. Standing right in the middle of it all is Sumurulus, calmly watching her approach. So the knight spots the lone surviving child, her daughter, and rushes toward her. Overcome with relief and guilt, she pulls the girl into a tight hug, apologizing for not being there, repeating, "I am sorry," over and over, completely oblivious to the nightmare that is about to happen. Sumurulus watches this reunion, dryly monologuing about the endless cycle of suffering. When suddenly the mother's eyes fly open in sheer, unadulterated terror, because her own daughter is driving her sword straight through her chest with a chillingly blank expression. This knight collapses, betrayed and murdered by the very person she came to save. And with the deed done, the child falls to the ground, her life seemingly extinguished as well. This whole family tragedy was apparently just a power-up for Sumurulus, who activates her great sin authority. She justifies it all as a necessary evil to save the world because of course she does. Back in the present, Glan tells his purple-haired associate they have zero leads on the Emperor's new body, but he has a potential source of information, the current Silent Death Demon King, a guy named Fenling. This plan is to use Faye's lie-detecting talent to squeeze the truth out of him, making him their only shot. Glan's mind flashes back to his old mission, questioning if he can ever trust demons. Because his one true goal was to exterminate their entire race, a perfectly healthy coping mechanism, and Faye snaps him out of it, asking why he is just staring off into space. But he just plays it cool, claiming he was only distracted for a moment. Out in a clearing, he tells Faye and the kid it is time for some preventive work, revealing his plan to summon a vampire knight to pass intel to the human side. And Faye explains this guy is so feared that villains would rather die than be captured by him. So Glan uses his own blood to begin the summoning ritual, creating a massive glowing red magic circle on the forest floor. But 2 hours later, nothing's happened and the kid suggests he is just slow to respond. Faye gets tired of waiting and decides to take a nap, telling the kid to wake her for the main event. Just then, the summoning circle begins to shimmer and distort, signaling an arrival. This little girl starts to get scared, wondering if vampires are real or just from stories. And her anxiety spikes as she is left alone in the dark woods. She sees a tiny bat fly by and breathes a sigh of relief, thinking she was just scaring herself, until a massive blood-soaked armored spike appears right in front of her face, which sends her into a full-on, soul-leaving-the-body shriek of terror. She scrambles backward, begging Glan to save her from the hulking monster. Because this vampire knight is a horrifying, gore-covered beast of spikes and armor, and Glan's first words to his new ally are basically, "I did not call you here to scare people." Glan, in full-on spectral mode, tells the knight to get serious for the kid's sake, but the armored behemoth points out that the only person who knew this summoning spell is long dead, and he demands to know how Glan learned the forbidden source of pain blood technique. Faye, meanwhile, just states the obvious. This guy is radiating some serious, not an ally vibes. This knight offers a very polite threat, suggesting Glan confess before he is invited to answer. And with a blade at his throat, Glan just compliments his rhetoric, a solid B- for effort, then immediately follows it up by saying everything else about him is a complete disappointment, which leaves the knight absolutely stunned, finally recognizing who he is dealing with. Because Glan looms over him like a final boss, declaring that his student V. Helen has failed the class. V. Helen stumbles back, his mind completely blown as he puts the pieces together. Ripping off his helmet to reveal his face, he calls him Professor Glan, confirming it is a school reunion. This sends us into a flashback at what looks like a very prestigious academy, where a younger V. Helen is being held down, pleading for his hand not to be burned. His tormentor, a smug heir named Mulder Lawrence, just holds a red-hot iron and asks why not. And V. Helen's only defense is that his mother will see the mark and be heartbroken. Mulder has a brief moment of introspection about how normal families care for each other, unlike his, before deciding that is not his problem and slamming the hot iron down with a sadistic grin. After searing one hand, he gleefully declares it is time to do the other one. What a gem. But just as the iron is about to connect with his other hand, a different hand intercepts it, and it is none other than Professor Glan stepping in to end this. Glan calmly informs the bully that next time he will be personally shoveled home to his parents, and Mulder, absolutely furious, cannot believe some jobless professor is talking down to him. So Glan demonstrates his unique teaching style by yeeting all three of them out a window. He just stands there looking impossibly cool after committing light assault on a minor, while V. Helen tries to call out to his savior as the professor just walks away, leaving a trail of stunned students in the hallway behind him. This kid reaches out wanting to thank him, but Glan is already gone, and V. Helen is left to whisper his gratitude to an empty doorway, completely overwhelmed. Later, some students are gawking at a packed lecture hall, but V. Helen knows what is up. because the guest speaker is the legendary demon-slaying maniac himself, Professor Glan. Inside, the entire student body has crammed into the massive auditorium to hear him speak, and even the local royalty has shown up with princes and princesses crowding the windows. Apparently, Glan already threw one prince out for being an entitled brat, zero exceptions policy. Helen wanders off, feeling worthless and wondering how to repay him when a vine appears. And suddenly he is completely wrapped up, caught totally by surprise. Of course, it is Mulder who orders his goons to capture Helen for trespassing on his family's turf. Strung up and bleeding, Helen defiantly curses him out, which only makes the bully happier. Mulder starts crushing his bones while his friends casually plan where to bury the body. In agony, Helen realizes they are trying to get to Glan and knows he has to stop them. Deciding his only option is to unleash his talent seal to escape this deadly trap. Helen panics, realizing he was too scared to ever practice his talent seal, so now he is useless. Caught in the vines, he can barely breathe, thinking this is the absolute end for him. And Mulder, the bully from before, holds him upside down, sarcastically calling him a tough guy. Desperate and bleeding, Helen tries to warn Glan that the bullies are actually after him. But Glan just looks bored, casually mentioning that Mulder's friends are about to come down. By come down, he means they are plummeting from the sky after being unceremoniously tossed, making impact with a very messy, very final splat on the ground below, which leaves Helen completely splattered and horrified by the professor's hands-on discipline. Glan then tells him to show up for class, advising him to make his scary talent the enemy's nightmare. Completely overwhelmed, Helen runs after him, trying to find a way to thank his unhinged savior. While the professor could not care less, preoccupied with dinner plans as Helen offers him fruit pie. Back in the present, Glan gives Helen his new mission: warn the human nations about the Emperor's return. Faye asks who they are supposed to contact, and Helen names humanity's two greatest defenders, giving us a quick glimpse of Emperor Hoya and Rainstorm Yuha, the great walls of humanity. Helen mentions one of them is retired, but Glan just seems disappointed he cannot fight him. With the stakes clear, Glan orders him to hurry since every delay helps the demon emperor. So Helen vows not to fail, powering up with some seriously wicked-looking red energy wings. He then blasts off into the night, a crimson streak carrying a world-saving message, leaving the kid to wave goodbye to the mosquito as Glan critiques his students' fashion sense. This next day, Glan lays out their next steps: get horses, and also for some reason buy some high-quality pottery jars. We get a flashback to the demon emperor's punishment plan for Glan: dismemberment, eye gouging, and being stuffed in a jar. And she planned to keep him alive like that for generations, calling it a mercy he was not on the evil side. Back in the present, two demon grunts on horseback are gossiping about their chief fighting some challenger to a draw, with the bigger one bragging he could easily take the chief's throne right before his buddy starts panicking. An entire crowd of demons parts in absolute terror as a lone figure approaches them, and walking through is our boy Glan, undercover and looking like he owns the place, making the braggart sweat bullets. This tough guy immediately regrets his life choices, wondering if it is too late to start groveling for forgiveness. But Glan's hand is reflected in his eye, a clear sign that mercy is officially off the table. A moment later, Glan is on horseback, casually dangling a key over the now defeated and publicly humiliated grunt, and as he rides off, an announcement rings out for the arrival of someone called Lord Desert Tooth. This lord turns out to be a ridiculously flamboyant vampire in a unitard, and the other demons are bowing in fear. Who then announces a surprise send-off for the chief, which sounds suspiciously like a coup in the making. From the shadows, Glan realizes this power-hungry clown could blow his and Faye's cover if left unchecked, while the grunts from before whisper that the new guy is all talk, but they are powerless since he has the chief's backing. Of course, the vampire overhears, immediately demotes the loudmouth to a weaponless messenger and stomps on his head. Glan actually thinks this idiot is useful. A weak vice chief keeps the whole demon army incompetent, a win for humanity. So he steps up to the vampire, calmly pointing out that his little parade is against the chief's resource-saving policy, which gets Desert Tooth right in his face, spitting everywhere while asking if Glan is trying to teach him his job. He then screams about Glan not kneeling, graciously offering a benevolent chance to make up for it, demanding he kowtow for forgiveness, but Glan's expression just screams, "You have no idea who you are talking to." This vampire pauses the humiliation, worried the hard ground might hurt Glan's head. What a thoughtful guy. So he has a minion shovel up a fresh pile of soft landing material just for the occasion, and with a grin that could curdle milk, he demands Glan kowtow immediately. All the local demons gather around, absolutely thrilled to watch the drama unfold. Desert Tooth then leans in, threatening to tattle to the chief if Glan does not obey his every command. But Glan just calls him clueless, warning that the chief's true power would scare him to death. This vampire, completely oblivious, just taunts him for being silent, thinking he is one. He then grabs Glan by the throat, ready to personally introduce his face to the dirt pile, which is when Glan yeets him across the clearing with zero effort whatsoever. This flamboyant idiot lands headfirst in the very pile of shame he had prepared for someone else. Covered in filth, he can only scream in absolute shock at this sudden reversal of fortune. Just then, the actual chief shows up, a very unimpressed armored woman asking what is going on. Desert Tooth immediately starts crying to her, demanding she punish the new guy for his insolence. He points at Glan, completely confident that his boss is about to bring the hammer down. Instead, the chief's massive weapon drills right through his leg, pinning him to the ground. In total shock, the vampire can only ask why she'd do this to her loyal vice chief. She looms over him with a death glare, telling him to shut up or she will prepare his coffin. Then she issues a new decree: he will kneel every time he sees Glan from now on. This demon grunts are freaking out, realizing Glan must be some VIP sent by the Demon King. And Desert Tooth is left to contemplate his ruined career, knowing he just tried to bully a walking nuke. After his public humiliation, Desert Tooth vows to be a good little soldier and atone for his crimes. Meanwhile, Glan's new demon guide says their best bet is the Silent Death Demon King who hates the Emperor. With the plan set, their horses let out a cry, ready for the long journey ahead. And our crew rides off into the sunset to find this potential ally, Fenling. Elsewhere, we get a look at the capital of the Eternal Royal Court, a floating fortress of pure evil. Inside, some big shot is holding a meeting, patting himself on the back for the demon race's reforms. This is the demon crown Prince Zhu, who is very proud of giving his people emotions as a first step. His next brilliant idea for demon civilization is organized religion, with the Emperor as their new god. This campaigning demon king is totally on board, adding that dead martyrs are often more useful than the living. Another one, the cruel demon king, has zero objections, just a room full of enthusiastic yes men. Even the desolate demon king agrees since his son already supports Zhu's plan. But the silent death demon king, Fenling, is completely unimpressed, calling this whole thing a buzzkill. Prince Zhu tries to smooth things over, telling her he will not force her to abandon the old ways just yet. He insists his goal is not just to exterminate humanity, which is not as comforting as he thinks. Instead, he wants to reform the world, which somehow sounds infinitely worse. Fenling is so done with this meeting she just says excuse me and gets up to leave. She walks right out of the throne room, leaving the prince to his villainous PowerPoint presentation. Cutting back to Glan's party, their horses are absolutely flying across the plains. They are now crossing the aptly named No Man's Land in the cruel royal court's territory. Glan and his guide ride hard, racing against time to stop a holy war from breaking out. Meanwhile, Vilhelm has been flying nonstop for days, pushing himself to the absolute limit to warn humanity. Finally arriving at the Ainea Kingdom's capital, a massive fortress city floating above the clouds. An official greets him, telling him not to worry about etiquette since the Emperor is just having dinner. And our boy walks in, completely on edge about meeting the legendary Emperor Hoya, a guy who killed his own dad for the throne. A voice from the table casually asks if he is the vampire knight while dipping some bread in stew, revealing the iron-fisted monarch to be a surprisingly chill-looking old dude enjoying a simple meal. He even invites Vilhelm to sit down, saying his timing for dinner is perfect, which gets a compliment from his chancellor, so Hoya immediately tells his historian to record the good deed. Apparently, this kingdom keeps two official logs, one for a king's successes and one for all their screw-ups. Hoya serves Vilhelm some food, joking that his chancellor usually just roasts him with the Book of Failures, and Vilhelm tries to get to his urgent report, but the Emperor is more concerned with getting him a bowl of beans. After being told to talk while they eat, Hoya proceeds to inhale his entire meal in like 2 seconds flat. Having heard the news, he concludes that he and Rainstorm Yuha must stop all killing to avoid accidentally offing the reincarnated Emperor, then explains Yuha is on a retirement trip to a remote island for some intense power-up training. With a plan in mind, Hoya decides he will send a secret agent to deliver the intelligence to him. Right on cue, a messenger announces that a secret agent has returned from demon territory and requests an audience. But Hoya's first priority is offering to personally show Vilhelm to his room, because waking up servants is a hassle. Vilhelm asks if this new arrival is the agent he is sending, and Hoya confirms, adding that a human is better for this job. Then the human agent walks in, and it is a giant horned demon reporting on his successful spy mission. Vilhelm is completely stunned, while the demon spy is equally shocked to see a vampire hanging out with the Emperor. Emperor Hoya decides it is high time for a formal introduction between his two very different agents. Officially presenting Vilhelm to his royal spy, a massive horned demon named Limestorf. And Vilhelm is just baffled that a demon would willingly serve humanity's greatest champion. Limestorf then explains he has been assigned to escort Vilhelm, while the Emperor arranges military matters. Vilhelm immediately questions his loyalty, but the demon clarifies it is not allegiance, it is just employment. His whole philosophy is that in an era of war you find a powerful backer and make money, allegiance is for chumps. He even holds up 2 gold bars, sarcastically asking if Vilhelm can tell which one is human and which is demon. Vilhelm, however, is completely unimpressed by this little object lesson in greed. Turns out the demon's grand plan is just to save up enough money to retire on a peaceful continent. Our boy actually finds this amusing, smirking that a selfish villain is a sign of demon civilization. Limestorf fully admits he is selfish, but at least he is not a hypocrite pretending to be a hero for personal gain. He then brings up Vilhelm's teacher, Glan, calling him a true paragon of selflessness, a classic buttering-up tactic. With a sly grin, the demon starts poking holes in that heroic image, asking if Glan was really that noble. He continues his psychological prodding, wondering what dark secret such a perfect hero might have been hiding. This second he suggests Glan might have been deceiving himself, Vilhelm's power absolutely explodes into red blades. With his eyes glowing dangerously, Helen warns him to choose his next words with extreme care. Limestorff immediately backpedals, insisting it was just a hypothesis and that he deeply respected Glan. Still surrounded by a storm of deadly energy, Helen demands to hear the rest of the theory. What if Glan never actually died? Meanwhile, we cut to Glan's party crossing the desolate no-man's land at sunset. Glan mentions they have a long journey ahead, completely oblivious he is the subject of a very tense debate back at the capital. By the fire, Faye asks the young blacksmith about her talent seal, and the kid admits she has never really tested it. This girl just cheerfully explains her smithing is already super fast, almost like she has a secret helper. So Glan decides to give her a crash course, explaining that untapped genius is just a waste of potential. His lesson starts with the basics. A talent seal constantly generates power from the heart that flows through you. He breaks down the 4 core applications: mobilization, amplification, release, and shaping. For release, he gives a visual aid of him just punching a hole straight through someone. Mobilization can grant stuff like thermal vision, which is a pretty neat party trick. Then there is amplification for turning your body into a rock, or shaping for a personal force field. He even shows how he can shape and release his power to create a literal snake projectile. Back in the present, he tells her to try mobilizing her power, and she immediately starts shouting her special moves. Not necessary, kid. A moment later, her hands are glowing with raw energy, and Glan tells her to try swinging her hammer. She gives it a swing and is totally shocked at how easy it is to wield the massive weapon now. Glan explains she can imbue items with her power, but it usually fades on normal objects. He then pulls out some angsty steel, noting that special materials are the exception to that rule. With offense covered, they move on to defense, telling her to focus all her power into one hand. He prepares to strike her with a blade, and she is pretty sure he will pull the punch at the last second. Her face drops when he casually says he will just heal her broken hand afterward. Oh, he is serious. This blade comes crashing down on her glowing fist as she braces for the full impact. In a flash of light, she actually manages to block the strike, holding firm against his attack. This impact sends sparks flying, proving her defensive technique is already surprisingly solid. She is not just blocking, she is creating. These tiny glowing energy dudes are crawling all over her fist, and Glan explains that humans always unlock their potential in a crisis, which she is clearly enjoying. This kid asks what is next, and Glan has to actually pause to remember how her specific talent seal works. He rules out amplification since it might, cause sudden death, telling her to try release and shaping instead. With a little focus, she releases her power, sending one of her light buddies floating gently away. Faye seems pretty entertained by the whole thing, letting the tiny energy soldiers climb all over her arm. She then tells the girl to use her imagination to materialize the power into something more useful. And just like that, her little marshmallow men are now a full-blown archer squad, ready for a very tiny war. Faye is satisfied, saying that is enough basic training for one night, time to learn from the real world now. This young blacksmith just stares at her new mini-army in total awe, completely captivated by her own power. Glan adds that her forging skills are so good, she was on track to awaken a power-up on her own anyway. Suddenly, her little glowing sentries start panicking, pointing out that birds are being startled in the distance. His expression hardens instantly, ordering them to douse the fire because they have got company. Far away, a small group of travelers is making their way through the desolate canyon under the setting sun. It is a knight captain trying to keep a low profile, scolding his men for using his title and blowing their cover. They are carrying an unconscious princess who has been badly injured, and they are too weak to fight anyone off. Watching from the ridge, Faye wonders what rich family is dumb enough to travel through this bandit-infested wasteland. But Glan recognizes the injured woman. It is Yvette, the ambitious 9th princess of Ainea. Faye is surprised he is so up on his royal gossip, as they both question how someone so strong got taken down. This knight captain blames his 2 useless subordinates for the botched mission, completely unaware a black snake is sneaking up on them. This knight captain is having a full-on meltdown, complaining that his family bought his way into this gig. He takes a desperate swig from his flask, wondering how his brilliant career plan ended in this dump. Suddenly, Glan's snake projectile speaks, asking if he is looking for a certain severed arm. From the ridge, Faye dryly observes the absolute state of this pathetic little caravan. Glan then asks if she wants to use that arm for a power-up, and she confirms they desperately need it. A quick flash shows some poor soul being consumed by snakes, hinting at the dark power they are chasing. Back with the knights, the captain is literally dragging his subordinates, calling them worthless trash. One of them argues back, revealing their intel came from an intermediary who contacted Limestorff. This blame game immediately devolves into a shouting match between the 2 flunkies. Their captain cuts them off with a metal-clawed hand, demanding they get a move on. He then proceeds to drag them both by ropes because that is what great leaders do. Of course, he follows this up with a totally unconvincing speech about how Ainea knights never give up. This guy then starts insisting there is water ahead, basically trying to manifest it through sheer denial. At that exact moment, the unconscious princess starts coughing up a ton of blood. Her subordinates completely panic, shouting Yvette's name as her condition worsens. We get a good look at the princess, who is very clearly not going to make it without help. This captain orders the girl to use her healing spell, but she cannot seem to muster the power. In tears, she explains she is completely drained from their last battle and has nothing left. And right on cue, Glan just strolls into frame, casually interrupting their little tragedy. He and Faye walk toward the stunned group looking calm, cool, and completely in control. This night Captain immediately panics, screaming that they are under attack by the demon race. But it is just Glan and Faye, with our boy casually catching an arrow and saying they are a peace faction. He offers them a deal, his hand glowing with a healing spell which only makes the captain more suspicious. His terms are simple: tell him everything about Jelong's severed arm and he will save their dying princess. A close-up on his glowing green hand shows he is definitely not bluffing about the power he wields. This captain sweats bullets, clearly torn between his secret mission and saving royalty. With literally no other options, he finally caves and tells Glan to get on with the healing. As Glan begins the spell, he notes that whatever injured Yvette must have been an incredibly powerful demon. This healing process looks pretty brutal, with the princess coughing up a ton of blood. Her captain completely loses it, grabbing Glan and screaming about what he is doing, a truly brilliant move. Glan, completely unbothered, just tells the guy he is being too noisy. After being told to calm down, the captain backs off, probably realizing he is about to get his lights punched out. A moment later, Princess Yvette sits up, looking good as new, much to her subordinates' relief. This little demon girl is stunned by his skill, saying his healing is on par with the demon king himself. Now that the crisis is over, the captain goes right back to blaming his men for everything. What a leader. Yvette thanks Glan, recognizing they are intelligent demons who can communicate just like Limestorf. With the healing done, Glan demands his payment and the princess offers to cover any monetary promises. But he does not want money, he wants intel on that severed arm, and her face instantly goes cold. Glan tells her if she will not talk, he will just get the story from her subordinate instead. This captain immediately forbids his man from speaking, claiming it is a top-secret matter of humanity. Princess Yvette tries to negotiate, offering anything but the intel, completely missing the two new puncture marks on her neck. In a flash, she realizes that healing spell was actually a Trojan horse for a dose of poison. Glan's whole demeanor shifts, giving her a choice: talk about the arm or watch her die from his little parting gift. Her captain, bless his heart, insists Glan is just posturing and weak, a masterclass in denial. Glan twists the knife, asking how they will explain her death to the king, sending the captain into a full-on meltdown. Playing the ultimate bluff, Glan's crew starts to walk off, but the captain immediately screams for them to wait. But the princess is all pride, insisting she will recover soon and he is the one who should be anxious. Faye just smirks, noting that Ainea royalty are so stubborn her men will just assume this is willpower, not poison. And just like that, the captain completely folds, shouting that the arm is in the hands of a warlord named Jer. This Jer, he explains, was a big shot under the first demon king before becoming a powerful bandit. Their whole secret mission was to retrieve the hero's arm to boost morale, but Jer got to it first. Turns out, the warlord already fused with the arm, got a massive power-up and wiped the floor with them. Glan gets straight to the point, asking for a location, and the captain spills the beans: Mudcow Town. Faye notes they are heading that way anyway, as the captain desperately begs Glan to uphold his end of the bargain. But instead of an antidote, Faye just grabs the dude's leg, not exactly the cure he was expecting. And then they just leave, zipping away as shadows while the captain screams about being double-crossed. Just as he is losing it, the princess calmly tells him to put his sword away, revealing she is perfectly fine. This captain immediately starts bowing and scraping, apologizing for being a mess and trying to be smart. Meanwhile, her two demon subordinates are freaking out, worried they will be court-martialed for spilling state secrets. Yvette, completely in command, just grabs her captain and tells him to get up, looking totally unfazed by the whole ordeal. Back with the princess, Yvette takes charge, telling her captain the previous mess was her fault. She then tells them to rest and plan, admitting her two demon subordinates are no match for Jer. At that moment, one of her men shouts a warning: they have got company approaching. In the distance, a tattered banner marks the territory of what looks like a bandit army. Yvette immediately snaps into action, ordering her tiny group into a wedge formation. An entire army crests the ridge, having found the 4 people their boss specifically wanted. Their leader grins, saying Jer only wants their heads, which means they can keep the rest. Recognizing they are outmatched, Yvette tells her team to hold their ground while her power recovers. One of the bandit lieutenants offers to wear them down first, hiding his boss's true abilities. This creepy yellow demon steps forward, glowing with a sinister green aura to make his move. He then poses a completely bizarre riddle about a talking chicken, not your standard battle cry. His power is Riddle Frog, and failing to answer in 3 seconds gets their energy drained. Her subordinate panics, horrified at the thought of dying and looking all wrinkly. This captain aims his crossbow for a direct attack, but Yvette warns him the target is way too fast. And she is right, as the riddle demon zips around them in a blur, completely untouchable. With his trap sprung, the main bandit leader orders the full-scale attack to begin. A whole horde of monstrous goons comes charging down the hill, ready to overwhelm them. Yvette's crew can only watch in terror as the wave of enemies closes in for the kill. But suddenly, a flash of purple energy reveals a mysterious white-haired fighter swooping in. This newcomer unleashes a devastating energy wave, carving a clean path right through the charging horde. This mysterious savior carves through the bandits, a whirlwind of white hair and purple energy. Faye just stares, completely stunned that he actually showed up to save them, and then some asterisk other guy with purple hair appears, calling the massacre a meeting gift for an alliance. He proposes they team up to take down Jer and get the hero's arm, claiming it belongs to his people. Back in the chaos, Glan's power erupts, blasting away another wave of enemies. His new form is pure demon, ready to unleash evil upon evil. This serpent's molt form is apparently just the beginning. He has still got room to grow stronger. Meanwhile, the two bandit lieutenants coordinate when trapping him in a massive sandstorm. This riddle demon then hits him with the world's dumbest logic puzzle about finger bones. As the countdown starts, Glan just stands there, seemingly caught in their trap. His answer is fourth bone, a response so literal it has to be wrong. This riddle demon is ecstatic, gleefully shouting that the correct answer was little finger. With the riddle failed, a gross energy-draining appendage shoots out to finish Glan off. But our boy just activates his thermal vision, seeing right through the sandstorm. He instantly pinpoints the other lieutenant and blitzes toward him at lightning speed. This riddle demon can only watch in shock as Glan completely ignores him. Glan then skewers the demon from above, declaring his answer correct through brute force. Jer's remaining goons are absolutely terrified, wondering if they accidentally provoked a god. This big boss himself, however, is just thrilled to find such a worthy opponent out here. Jer powers up his Earth Lord talent, ready to turn Glan into a new trophy. Jer's Earth Lord talent is just casually summoning a whole-ass fortress from the sand. From the battlements, he promises to make Glan a pretty new decoration for his collection, and his idea of interior design starts with launching a ridiculously oversized spear right at them. Glan easily dodges the attack, which craters the ground where he was just standing. He lands and gives a look to his would-be allies, probably wondering if they are gonna help. But his new friends are just freaking out, realizing the entire fortress is now charging at them. This mobile fortress technique is basically a walking castle that shoots sand spikes, which is just unfair. Up top, Jer calls for his second brother to come out and play because of course he has backup. His strategy is simple: flank them on three sides and leave absolutely no room for escape. And second brother turns out to be a gigantic, hulking beast that leaps from the fortress. This guy lands with a thud, already complaining that fighting a bunch of ants is super boring. A green-haired girl in the Alliance group takes that ant's comment very personally, her eyes glowing. Her teammates are in full panic mode, begging her to use her seal power before they all die. This purple-haired leader gives the okay, telling her to release her form and get this over with. She activates her celestial body seal, asking the big lug who he is calling an ant now. With a single move, she slams her glowing hand straight into the ground with incredible force. And just like that, the giant beast is instantly diced into a dozen pieces, so much for being boring. Her leader calmly explains to his subordinate that enemies can also be used as weapons, a fun little lesson. Now standing on the dead beast's massive sword, she is immediately targeted by a volley of arrows. Unfazed, she just rips the giant sword out of the ground and hurls it back like a javelin. That giant sword comes crashing down, turning Jer's second brother into a bloody crater. Jer himself can only watch in disbelief as his big bruiser gets absolutely deleted from the fight. This green-haired girl's massive celestial body form now towers over the battlefield, ready for round 2, and the look on Jer's face is just pure, unadulterated, I have made a huge mistake. Her next move is a devastating energy wave that slices right through his mobile fortress. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a brown-haired guy watches a dragon fly off into the sunset. This green-haired girl is seen walking through the desert, her massive shadow trailing behind her. Her companions identify the creature as a legendary evil dragon, relieved it is not looking for a fight. Back in the present, she formally agrees to the alliance, her powerful spirit form looming over them. They agree to a 50-50 split of the arm, while both privately plan to betray each other later, teamwork. Later that night, the two separate groups set up camp near an oasis, keeping their distance. Glan's crew is just trying to enjoy a quiet meal, sharing some soup around the fire. Over at the other campfire, Princess Yvette's team is recovering from their earlier beatdown. This green-haired girl decides to go chat with the demons, with her leader warning her to stay sharp. She approaches Glan's group, immediately asking about the little demon girl, calling her their slave. At Yvette's camp, the captain is still whining about having to deal with demons for the hero's arm. He then goes on a whole tangent about how the hero is his idol for being handsome and never getting scarred. A hooded member of the alliance casually asks the little demon girl if he can try some of her cheese. She clutches it protectively, explaining it was an expensive gift from her mom, hands off the good stuff. Suddenly, that same hooded figure pops up behind Yvette's captain, scaring the absolute daylights out of him. This captain, completely rattled, demands to know if the hooded stranger who snuck up on him is a demon. She pulls back her hood to reveal blue hair and a tail, casually confirming his worst fears with a smirk. In a panic, he points over to Glan's crew, asking if this new, very dangerous demon is with them. But over at the other campfire, everyone looks just as confused and on edge. Without waiting for an answer, the blue-haired woman draws her twin blades, clearly not here to chat. She unleashes a flowing water sword technique, a blur of blue energy that instantly carves up her targets. In a brutal flash, the captain and Yvette's two demon subordinates are screaming, their hands cleanly lopped off. Glan and Faye immediately recognize the sword's style, absolutely stunned to see it in action here. This demon Marovich stands over her handiwork, looking every bit the professional assassin. Her three victims can only writhe on the ground, completely at her mercy. Back at the other camp, the green-haired girl is absolutely furious, looking ready to jump in. but Merovich ignores them, announcing she is here to capture Princess Yvette on her master's orders. And in the chaos, the little demon girl's expensive cheese lies ruined in a puddle of blood, the true tragedy. This green-haired girl realizes this demon is a master swordsman and asks her ally for backup. Her purple-haired leader steps up, trying to play peacemaker and negotiate a way out of this mess. It is a classic standoff, with the Alliance leader facing down the deadly blue-haired demon. He's got his serious face on, but she just looks scarred and unimpressed, like she has seen it all before. Merovich smirks, finally recognizing his murderous aura and realizing who she is dealing with. She calls him Jelong and Faye by name, commenting on how they have grown up. Oh great, they have history. Faye just deadpans that for two guys who are not related, they are scarily good at judging people. Faye screams a warning as Merovich dives in, twin blades ready to end this conversation. But the attack gets blocked by a flash of purple energy, a deliberate move to lower their guard. Merovich then summons a massive eternal night dragon soul, clearly annoyed this is not a simple job. This spectral dragon looms over Faye, who just tells her to stay out of his way. She gets right in his face, blade to his throat, ranting about how trusting 5 lords ruined her. Pointing to her scarred face, she mocks her old title as an unblemished knight, a total joke to her now. In a raw fury, she screams that her current wretched state is entirely their fault. This green-haired girl finally steps in with a massive shield, telling Merovich to calm down. Merovich just laughs at the suggestion, forcing the two allies to give her some space. She readies her water sword technique again, determined to follow her master's orders no matter what. Realizing Merovich is completely brainwashed, the green-haired girl decides there is only one option left, and that option is to beat you awake, her fist glowing with some serious tough love energy. Merovich counters by activating a mist mirage, her form becoming hazy and untouchable. This punch goes right through the illusion, shattering rocks as Merovich easily dodges. Glan immediately figures out her trick and warns the others that Yvette is the real target. Our boy activates his thermal vision, hoping to see right through her little light-bending trick. At the same time, the green-haired girl unleashes a massive fire attack to burn away the mist. This move creates a fire-infused cage, trapping Yvette's terrified group inside a vortex of flames. Glan realizes the intense heat makes his thermal vision useless. They are totally blind in there. So they set up a defense, with the girl summoning shields and Glan laying an electric dragnet on the ground. Inside the fire cage, Yvette's captain is screaming for a healing spell that his terrified subordinate cannot even cast. Before she can try, Merovich's blade slams into the ground beside her head, a pretty clear no. She looms over the girl, explaining she is only disabling them, not killing them, which is just so generous. Meanwhile, the green-haired girl's golden shields are the only thing holding back the fiery vortex. Merovich calmly wonders how to break their defense, while the captain finally connects the dots on who she is. This genius, despite his fresh amputation, decides now is the perfect time to start insulting the assassin. He is actually defending the asterisk named Merovich, his idol, not realizing he is yelling at the woman herself, peak situational awareness. Amused, she asks him a little trivia question. Why did his hero only ever make it to second night? This answer, delivered with a terrifying glare, is that the top spot was reserved for the king's son. She then contrasts this with the demon world, where strength is the only thing that actually matters. With her massive dragon soul looming, she declares that with enough power, even she could become emperor. And with that little monologue over, her spectral dragon dives straight toward the trapped group. It is a collision course with the massive beast about to smash into their fiery prison. This green-haired girl points out their one massive weak spot, the giant hole in the roof of their cage. That dragon comes crashing in, its sheer size threatening to overwhelm their entire defense. In response, she hurls a massive blade of her own, a pillar of green energy aimed right at the beast. But the dragon just swats it away like a fly, completely unimpressed by her best shot. As the dragon's eye focuses, Glan decides it is his turn, rocketing forward with a rapid tooth rush. He is a blur of white hair and purple lightning, aiming to intercept the dragon head-on. His attack meets the dragon's snout in a massive clash of power, a desperate last-ditch defense. Glan's over-the-top sword kiss attack meets the dragon's soul in a massive explosion of energy. From a nearby cliff, some old guy complains that the evil dragon he was watching went down so easily. But the whole thing seems to backfire, with Glan getting zapped by a bolt of his own purple lightning. Faye is totally confused why Merovich just bylayed, but Glan reveals their whole dramatic fight was just an act. We get a quick flash of Merovich's past, a brutal battle where she was clearly getting wrecked. In a flashback, she is with a blonde knight she calls Big Brother Merovich, who seems way too into getting battle scars. This guy is genuinely thrilled to get a scar from a demon, planning to maintain it for a majestic look. When asked why not just cut himself, he gives a whole speech on how it only counts if it is from a real fight, the logic of a true poser. He stares into a mirror, admiring his brand new facial feature, craving the world's recognition. And naturally, he also wants that sweet, sweet self-recognition because he is just that deep. Right then, a much younger Glan appears and just casually heals the precious scar right off his face. Our boy just asks why he did not say he was hurt, completely oblivious to the aesthetic tragedy he just caused. This great knight has a complete meltdown, shattering his mirror and weeping for his lost handsome scar. Back in the present, Merovich confirms they are being watched, telling Glan to make his acting believable. Later, Glan tells Faye he thinks her whole brainwashed by a master story is a lie to make herself look like a victim. Marovich then meets with her actual contact, who says his boss, Lord Evil Dragon, is mad she failed the mission. This old man admits his intel was garbage since one of the demons is a fifth seal user, making the job way too risky. She tells him to ask his boss for backup to capture the princess, and it is not about more money this time. What she wants are 10 bottles of a rare elixir to help her break through to the sixth seal. This request triggers a vision of a young blonde child, probably Glan, being held by a demon as the elixirs are mentioned. This old man scoffs at her demand, explaining the elixir is so potent that taking too much would literally make you explode. Marovich insists she needs the power-up, but her contact says the boss will only risk giving her 1 bottle. And so begins a surprisingly intense negotiation, haggling over magic potions like it is a flea market. After some serious back and forth, the old man finally caves, deal 2 bottles it is. She confirms the agreement, promising to keep an eye on the princess until her performance-enhancing drugs arrive. Meanwhile, Faye's group decides to just play along with the alliance and head for Mudcow Town in the morning. At that moment, the green-haired girl approaches, formally addressing Lord Jelong and Lord Fayer. Faye, completely unfazed, asks what she wants, deciding it is finally time to reveal a few things. Whatever he tells them completely shatters their reality, leaving the entire squad looking absolutely shell-shocked. Her 2 subordinates immediately start groveling, apologizing profusely for their earlier, very hostile attitude. Even the green-haired girl gets on one knee, admitting she is ashamed for doubting them after they saved her crew. Faye just tells them all to get up, saying all he needs is their full cooperation to get his severed arm back. She enthusiastically agrees to follow his every command, a pretty wild shift in the power dynamic. Her whole team is now in total fan mode as Faye dismisses them to get some rest for the fight ahead. Over at their own camp, the little demon girl asks Glan to start a fire, complaining about the cold. She then shows off a basic ignition spell, channeling a fire god to get the campfire started with a little flare. And just like that, they have got a roaring fire going, cutting right through the desert chill. Everyone settles in around the flames, enjoying a rare moment of peace after all the backstabbing and dismemberment. But the quiet is broken when one of Yvette's subordinates approaches Glan, asking about some old rumors he has heard. Later that night, while everyone else is supposedly asleep, the green-haired girl is definitely eavesdropping. This little demon girl pipes up, asking Glan if that old story about him and Faye at Tears Lake Village is true. Her teammates are not having it, with one grumbling she should ask about a city getting wiped out instead. Glan and Faye both try to shut the conversation down, telling her to drop it for the night. But Faye, ever the storyteller, decides what the hell and starts spilling the tea anyway. He sets the scene in a haunted place called Tears Lake Village, supposedly cursed by demons. Turns out, the demons were actually the vengeful ghosts of a murdered bride and groom. And these two are just thrilled to have visitors for their eternal, super creepy wedding reception. A younger, blue-haired guy who looks a lot like Glan steps in, using his seal power to quiet them down. He then tells his companion, the Sage of Holy Light, to just nuke the spirits with her powers. She pushes back, arguing they deserve a peaceful end, not just to be obliterated, a rare moment of empathy. So she unleashes her Holy Light Warm Embrace, a much gentler approach to ghost busting. This warm light surrounds the 2 tormented spirits, who seem to be finding some measure of peace. In a flash, they are restored to their human forms, finally able to move on together. With the job done, the blue-haired warrior and the sage stand together in the aftermath. This younger version of Glan looks on, completely unfazed by the whole supernatural exorcism. His companion Sofka seems much more affected, a quiet sadness on her face. For a moment, their hands are close, a silent connection between the 2 of them. And then he gently takes her hand, a surprisingly tender gesture from the stoic warrior. But the memory seems to rush by, a fleeting moment of connection in a violent past. Then in a shocking twist, he draws his sword and cuts her down without a second's hesitation. This flashback continues, with the blade stopping just shy of Sofka's face as Glan yells, "Stop." He stands over her, sword drawn, as she asks if she was being a little too forward. Glan, looking dead serious, just tells her to apologize for touching him. Sofka is completely baffled by this sudden, very intense demand for personal space. He explains that uninvited physical contact makes him uncomfortable, so she quickly apologizes to Mr. Jelong. Back in the present, Glan claims that whole sword-drawing thing was just a reflex. He thought she was an enemy. One of his companions just deadpans that, yeah, that sounds exactly like something he would do. With story time over, the whole crew passes out around the fire, a rare moment of peace. This next morning, they arrive at their destination, the sprawling desert city of Mudcow Town. Faye lays out the plan. She will go in alone to infiltrate, and they will coordinate a pincer attack later. Inside the town, they find a recruitment drive for King Jair's forces, a perfect way in. Nearby, a couple of demons are casually chatting about the slaves they just stole from the royal court. One complains that Jair only wants women, but the court is full of men, a real supply chain issue. Glan overhears this, realizing they will have to rescue these poor souls after their main mission is done. This demons then mention trading the men to the Skin Hunter Brotherhood, which sounds like a delightful bunch. A recruiter then calls out for the last applicant of the day, setting the stage for their entry. Immediately, the whole crowd, including our heroes, surges toward the recruitment building. Inside, a massive group of hopefuls has gathered, all eager to join the Demon King's crew. A blonde, horned guy named Clover introduces himself as the chief examiner, lounging like a total boss. With a smug grin, he lays down the one and only rule: they only accept elites, no trash allowed. Inside, a purple-horned demon tries to look impressive while Faye's inner monologue roasts him for being ugly trash. This guy's idea of a good first impression is threatening to cut off Faye's ears for ignoring him, a real charmer. This examiner, Clover, looks completely bored by the recruits, telling everyone to shut up so the test can begin. He explains the rules. Everyone lines up to touch his magic orb to get their talent and power measured. A quick explainer notes that raw power is not everything, since a smart fighter can beat a stronger opponent. This first applicant, a nervous red-skinned demon, steps up to the plate as Clover tells him to get on with it. Clover then gives a surprisingly motivational speech, saying the king values ruthless people who are not afraid to risk it all. This guy's results come in as a first seal electric type, and he timidly asks if he is qualified. But Clover's internal assessment is way harsher, judging the poor guy as weak and cowardly. And then with a terrifying grin, he just flat out calls the applicant trash to his face. He then addresses the whole room, telling anyone else who knows they're trash to just leave now. Without another word, his tongue shoots out like a whip aimed right at one of the recruits. It smashes a red-haired demon into the wall, severing his arm and splattering him everywhere. Clover then asks the crowd what the point of living is if you already know you are worthless. This victim is left a broken mess on the ground as the wall behind him cracks under the impact. As the wall crumbles, it reveals a horrifying, massive sphere made of writhing bodies just sitting in the next room. Faye stares in shock, wondering what the hell that giant ball of people is even supposed to be. This assistant casually asks why the king's favorite concubine is here, and Clover says it is just temporary storage. Realizing the mistake, the assistant frantically orders soldiers to move the concubine back, warning them not to damage it. And then we see soldiers trying to haul this horrifying flesh sphere away with ropes like it is just an awkward piece of furniture. A close-up on the concubine reveals it is a writhing mass of fused, crying bodies, pure nightmare fuel. Faye stares at the horror, his expression unreadable but clearly triggering something deep inside him. His mind flashes back to a similar grotesque scene, a person in red being swallowed by a fleshy horror. In another memory, a younger Faye in a red scarf is being led away as a captive by demons. This sheer despair on his younger face says everything about the trauma he is reliving right now. Back in the present, Clover just casually tells everyone to ignore the giant ball of suffering and get on with the test. He calls for the next applicant, but the purple-horned guy suddenly has a stomach ache. What a hero. Faye, having zero patience for this, just cuts right in front of him to take the test himself. He asks Clover to confirm the rules. You just need to be strong or ruthless, nothing else. That purple-horned demon thinks Faye is just a scrawny kid stalling for attention so he can escape. Clover, completely annoyed, tells Faye to hurry up and get it over with already. But Faye flips the script, asking the examiner a simple question: are you strong enough? He then clarifies, questioning if a mere third seal user is even worthy of testing him, the absolute nerve. Enraged, Clover threatens to kill him for stalling, his whip-like tongue lashing out for the kill. Instead of touching the orb, Faye whips out a dagger crackling with that familiar purple lightning. With blinding speed, he stabs Clover's tongue, pinning it right to the magic orb. Talk about shutting someone up. Faye then calmly places his own hand on the orb, ready to take the test on his own terms. Clover can only stare in agony and disbelief, completely and utterly owned. Looking cool as ever, Faye holds the glowing orb, channeling his immense power into it. And the damn thing just explodes, shattering into a million pieces from the sheer energy overload. This orb remains glow brightly in Faye's hand, dripping like molten glass. So much for that testing device. Clover's eye widens in the darkness, a perfect picture of I have made a huge mistake. All the other applicants are blown back by the shockwave, looking absolutely horrified by the display. Faye then gently places the shattered orb right back on Clover's pinned tongue, a real return to sender moment. Wiping his bloody hand, he casually asks if he is qualified, and Clover can only stammer out a terrified yes. Later, an official directs the new recruits to their tents, warning them to be ready for the king's inspection at any time. Inside his tent, Faye pulls out a small scroll, getting ready to enact the real plan. We flash back a few hours to see Glan handing him that very same device. He explains it as a magic scroll that syncs in real time, their secret communication line for the infiltration. Back in the present, Faye writes his first message, confirming he is successfully inside Mudcow Town. Miles away in a hidden cave, Glan and the rest of the team watch the message appear on their copy. One of the subordinates excitedly holds up the scroll, announcing that their boy has made contact. This whole crew gathers around to read the update, their expressions turning dead serious. Faye lays out the two-step plan: get intel on the king, then isolate him for a group beatdown. His quiet time is cut short when an official arrives, announcing King Jair wants to see the new star recruit personally. Once inside the king's chambers, he prepares to send another update, a glowing seal on his arm. This official asks his guard if he searched the new guy, but the guard was too scared to even try. Finally getting some nerve, the guard bursts in, demanding a full body search. Better late than never, I guess. Faye just strips off his top with a smirk, basically daring the guy to find anything. This guard starts the pat-down, looking way more nervous than the guy he is supposed to be searching. This guard finishes his search, announcing Faye is clean, totally missing the contraband hidden inside his arm. With the pat-down over, the guard tells Faye to follow him for a one-on-one with the big boss himself. A quick flashback reveals his brilliant plan: just casually slice open your own arm to hide the comms device. Then he just slaps a healing spell on it because who needs sterile operating rooms, right? A bell tolls from a creepy-ass tower because of course the Demon King lives in a gothic nightmare. Inside, his escort presents him to the king and is immediately told to get lost. This is a private chat. As the guard leaves, Faye just watches with that classic, unreadable "I have got this" expression. And then it clicks for him. He realizes his arm is being used by the King Jair. This source of the sound is a piano player in a massive hall, complete with spooky mood lighting and floating notes. Our pianist is none other than King Jair, a hulking demon who looks like he eats people for breakfast. We get a close-up of his hands on the keys, playing a surprisingly gentle tune for a guy who looks like that. Faye just watches this whole bizarre performance, his expression completely stone cold. We see a mix of human and demonic hands on the keys, really driving home the whole conflicted monster vibe. With the concert over, the king finally acknowledges Faye's presence from across the room. Jair casually explains that the piano is just his little coping mechanism for his homicidal urges, totally normal. He then tells Faye to relax, as if a chat with a murder-addicted demon king is a casual affair. This king opens the floor for questions, asking if Faye is curious about anything in his army. But Faye flips it, asking why a great king would even need to suppress the desire to kill in the first place. Jair claims he is trying to be a non-violent demon, even though he is always fighting off rebels. He finishes his philosophy lesson, saying killing is as natural to demons as breathing. Jair's inner monologue reveals his struggle. Demons are born to be enemies of all life, but he believes he has the freedom to choose a different path, a philosophy that is clearly working out great. Back in the present, he changes the subject, asking Faye if he heard the piano piece. Faye plays it cool, claiming he knows absolutely nothing about human music, and that answer earns him a one-way ticket to the floor, slammed down by the king himself. Jair calls him a liar, pointing out that he saw Faye frown when he hit a wrong note. With a terrifying glare, the king demands to know what is really going on inside his head. He grabs Faye by the throat, asking if his bloodlust is just nature or a genuine passion. Our boy, completely unbothered, just grins through a bloody lip and says it is half and half. Checking his pulse, Jair confirms he is not lying and lets him go. What a stable hiring process. This king's face then twists into a monstrous sneer, calling Faye a slave to his own nature. He mocks him for not trying to break free from his killer instincts, unlike himself, the enlightened tyrant. But Faye flips it right back, arguing that a great king needs an obedient weapon to do the dirty work. Jair, looking intrigued, then asks what Faye hopes to gain by defecting to his side. With his eyes glowing, Faye prepares to deliver the perfect, most convincing lie. He claims that only by serving the king will he get the chance to satisfy his desire to kill. This king accepts this, and the two now stand as a terrifying new master and subordinate duo. At that moment, the sound of small, bare feet echoes through the massive hall. Faye's head whips around, his sharp senses picking up on the unexpected visitor, and a little red-haired girl runs in with a flower crown, cheerfully calling out for her papa. This little girl offers a flower crown to the king, calling him papa in a shockingly sweet moment. A sad flashback reveals she waited patiently in some ruins, unable to bring herself to pick the flowers. She explains she waited a long time for them to fall naturally, just so she could make him the crown, and her reward is getting slammed face-first into the floor by her dear old papa. With the crown shattered, he scolds her for running around because that is the real crime here. He keeps her pinned down, screaming about how she cannot even follow a simple instruction. This king then complains to Faye that humans are harder to train than dogs while the girl bleeds on the floor. All she can do is beg him to stop, crying that she was wrong. This is brutal to watch. Grabbing her chin, he adds another lovely rule to the list, that she is absolutely forbidden from ever calling him papa again. His face twisting into a monstrous glare, he calls her a lowly slave, dropping the enlightened act completely. Just then, a guard bursts in, announcing the rumored evil dragon is approaching from the east. Hearing the dragon comes with ill intent, the king seems genuinely intrigued by this news. This girl, Zena, is then dismissed and told to go back to the basement all by herself. After that little family drama, he tells his subordinate he is satisfied with Faye and sends him away. Faye is escorted out of the king's fortress, the bizarre meeting officially over. Our boy's expression is cold as ice, clearly processing the horror show he just witnessed. A quick glance back shows Zena walking away by herself, a lonely figure in the desolate town. Meanwhile, a massive dark dragon soars towards the town, searching for a Princess Jelong. This must be the evil dragon, and he has just landed right at the king's front door. King Jair just eats a giant rock at the newly arrived dragon. Talk about a warm welcome. This dragon's eye glows, sensing a massive power signature coming from that creepy bell tower. And boom, the rock smashes right into the dragon, sending it reeling back from the sheer force. It gets blasted away in a flash of light, clearly not expecting that kind of reception. This evil dragon tucks tail and flies off into the distance, looking like it is in full retreat. But Faye watches it leave, thinking to himself that he has to reclaim that power. Wait, what? One of the king's lackeys starts hyping him up for scaring off the dragon, while Jair just orders everyone to stay alert. Faye, meanwhile, is already on recon, noting the town's patrol system is surprisingly competent. He sends out a little thorny snake familiar to trail the guards, completely unseen. Two guards complain about getting pricked by thorns, having no idea they are part of a master plan. Turns out those thorns are injecting them with a subtle tracking magic totally undetectable. This magic leaves a glowing green trail, perfectly mapping out the guards' patrol routes for him. And just as he suspected, Jer has multiple complex patrol patterns all over the town. Back in his tent, Faye's demonic hand sketches out the routes, planning the perfect assassination strike. He then picks up a fallen purple flower, the same kind Zena had in her shattered crown. Speaking of Zena, she is still locked away in that dark basement, looking utterly broken. We see her chained to a post, a truly miserable sight for a little kid. Hearing a noise, she looks up from the hay, asking who is at her cell door. It is Faye, offering her a small bunch of those same flowers through the bars, saying he just found them. Her face lights up as she takes them, now running with a new flower crown, a tiny spark of joy in this hellhole. Zena figures her daddy only hated the old crowns because they were ugly, while Faye notes her cell is not even locked. He then asks the obvious question, why is a human girl calling the demon King Papa in the first place? With a huge, heartbreaking smile, she claims Jer is the best person she has ever met, a real gold star parent. She even explains the collar is for her safety, and hey, he only hits her a few times when she messes up. Faye asks what kind of people she met before, but she just vaguely remembers they were all very bad. A brutal flashback then reveals she was delivered to Jer, pinned and bleeding, with instructions to raise her well. Realizing she has no idea she is a slave, Faye offers her a chance to see the outside world. This idea of interesting things clearly catches her attention, a spark of curiosity in her eyes. Our boy's already in protective mode, thinking she needs a real mentor to fix her broken worldview. Suddenly excited, she asks Faye to tell her stories about the world since she is never allowed to leave. But he snaps back to reality. The mission to get intel on Jer comes first, no distractions. Making his excuses, Faye says he has to go, and she sweetly asks him to come play again soon. Once he is gone, she notices her chain is loose and immediately panics about the king getting angry. Her small hands immediately work to tighten the chain back onto her collar, a practiced, awful motion. She pulls the shackle tight, reinforcing her own prison with a look of grim determination. Meanwhile, out in the desert, some new guy is chasing a blue-haired woman, announcing the North Princess is cornered. This older pursuer seems resigned, agreeing to go negotiate with the king of Mudcow Town. Then he unleashes a talent seal, wrapping himself in some seriously ominous shadow magic. These shadowy tendrils snake their way into a nearby building, right where Faye is standing. And inside, someone is calmly pouring a glass of red wine, completely unaware of the approaching darkness. Faye's room is suddenly flooded with a detection spell trying to sniff out his power. This spell even picks up on his little snake familiar, which is just chilling on a box. But our boy just scoffs, calling it child's play as he compresses his true power down to nothing. Meanwhile, King Jer sips his wine, casually telling the hidden intruder to come on out. His challenge is directed at the shadowy snake, which is the form the intruder took to sneak in. A pool of darkness then materializes on the floor, and a new visitor starts to emerge from it. This old guy surfaces from the shadows, immediately insulting Jer's face. Bold strategy, let us see how it plays out. Jer, completely unbothered on his throne, just compliments the man's guts for showing up alone. This intruder explains he and the evil dragon are just looking for someone and want no trouble. But the king is not a fan of people breaking in and then making demands, calling the old geezer out. His face twists into a demonic snarl as he lectures the guy on basic home invasion etiquette. This old man fires back, boasting he could take down this brute in less than 3 minutes. Suddenly, a voice calls out from a fancy purple lantern hanging from the old guy's belt. He immediately asks his boss, Lord Simon, for backup against this royal pain in the neck. Jer's eyes go wide, recognizing the artifact as a legendary lantern that can cross dimensions. Thinking he has the upper hand, the old guy sneers that it is too late for the king to be afraid. But Jer just grins, revealing he has a matching lantern of his own. What a coincidence. This old man's jaw just hits the floor, his entire plan completely falling apart in seconds. As a shadowy figure emerges from Jer's lantern, the king plays peacemaker, saying fighting is a great bonding experience. This new arrival, a smug blonde guy, praises Jer for being a good subordinate who helps him catch hostages. This old man introduces his boss, Matias, who has taken over Jer's throne room like he owns the place. From the shadows, Faye's familiar realizes this new guy is the mastermind behind everything. Matias grabs Jer's wrist, calling him a rook in his little chess game. Then he grabs the old man's wrist, labeling him the bishop. Everyone's a pawn to this guy. He smugly explains that his grand plan only works if they all stay in their assigned roles. This old man Simon is all too happy to play along, praising his boss's brilliant scheme to restore some lineage. With a creepy smile, Matias then asks Jer about a bounty he put on some assassins. Jer explains the situation, but his new boss just tells him to cancel it and not to worry his pretty little head about it. A patronizing hand lands on the king's shoulder, a clear gesture of dominance. Matias then tells him to be a good boy, revealing he bought Jer as an obedient tool. What a great work environment. His condescending smile is just begging to be punched, telling the king not to make him worry. Pushed to his limit, Jer clenches his fist and reminds Matias about his promised freedom. Matias just scoffs, barely even remembering the deal. What a shocker. He pulls out a weird magical gadget, one half of a match set, and reveals the other half is a bomb in Jer's head that he can detonate anytime, so that is the leash. He even taunts him about it, asking if the asterisk thought asterisk of freedom makes him happy. This guy is a professional sadist. After that little power trip, he gives orders to Simon and the evil dragon to get ready. Then he offers to send Jer to his concubine's room with some new women as a treat, just pure slime. Simon, the loyal bootlicker, accepts his orders without question. As the king and his handler walk off, Faye's snake decides to follow, ready to gather more intel. Faye's little snake familiar slinks after the king and his handler, diving deeper into the fortress. They descend a long, winding staircase into a pit of absolute darkness, which is never a good sign. Through his familiar's eyes, Faye watches from the shadows, piecing together this whole nightmare. And at the bottom, Jer stands before a giant, writhing meatball of bodies, lovely centerpiece. In his full demon form, the king holds his lantern and asks if his new children are ready to be born. A grotesque creature then proceeds to birth a pulsating red orb, and I think I am gonna be sick. This fleshy egg thing just sits there, throbbing with some kind of dark, gestating energy. It starts to stretch and tear, getting ready to pop like a gore-filled water balloon. A clawed hand rips its way out, kicking off a very messy, very horrifying birthday party. Out crawls a freshly made demon, already asking for orders like a perfect little soldier. Turns out the birthing monster has been busy, laying a whole clutch of these nightmare eggs on the floor. Matias then explains his brilliant new method for mass-producing loyal demon soldiers born with a special seal. An entire army of these new demons stands at attention, ready to serve their master. Jer immediately appoints them as his new deputy commanders, right after they take a bath, of course. From the lantern, Matthias's voice casually tells him to just destroy the failures, the ones that did not hatch. He then compares demons to uncut stone, while Jer deadpans that he knows nothing about art, a true connoisseur. Back at his ridiculously fancy villa, Matias sips his wine, calling Jer's response unromantic. Meanwhile, a group of women are being escorted through the pristine gardens of that same villa. They are just happy to be saved by a lord, hoping he is not a creep. The bar is on the floor, ladies. Matias gently takes one of their hands, his polite demeanor hiding that he has just acquired more gifts for his pawn. Matias plays the charming savior, greeting the women he just rescued. What a gentleman. This blue-haired woman is totally starstruck, recognizing him as the noble Lord Matias. Her friends are also fawning over him, praising his elegance and calling him handsome. The red flags are invisible to these poor souls. They are all thanking him, one even offering to be his maid, completely unaware they are just new inventory. With a smile that screams, I am a psychopath, he tells them all to huddle up for a group photo or something equally sinister. This women gather together, still thinking this is their lucky day, a real rags to riches story. They are blushing and hopeful, completely oblivious to the fact their fairy tale is about to end horribly. And just like that, the charm vanishes as one of them starts screaming, engulfed in dark magic. A vortex of pure nightmare fuel erupts, sucking all of them into a swirling mass of shadows. This end result is a horrifying pile of fused bodies, another one of Matthias's grotesque art projects. He holds up his lantern, which has now absorbed their life force, ready to be shipped off. This is how he makes the raw materials, turning innocent people into a writhing flesh monster for his demon factory. Back in the dungeon, Jer looks at the new art piece, officially labeled Flesh Art Mixed Pigments. He then tells his new demon lackeys to look after his new concubine before heading off to a party. What a guy. Two of the freshly birthed demons stand guard as the monstrous pile is locked away. From the shadows, Faye watches the whole disgusting process, finally understanding the source of the demons. He tries to intervene, casting a powerful healing spell on the grotesque creature. But the spell is totally useless. The magic cannot undo whatever twisted thing Matias did to them. Faye realizes that Matthias's talent seal has permanently fused them into a single being beyond saving. His eyes glow with cold fury, now fully grasping the depravity of the man pulling all the strings. Back in the dungeon, Jer violently throws Zena to the ground, ordering her to approach. Faye watches from the shadows as the king demands to see the number branded on her neck. With a look of pure fear, she clutches the collar that marks her as his possession. Our boy is stunned, realizing she has the same sea of corpses and blood talent seal as his sister. Zena then offers Jer flowers, while he whines about how she does not even want the freedom he fought for. She gently places the flowers on his head, a makeshift crown for her monstrous captor. With a heartbreaking smile, she says being free would mean she could not see him happy anymore. Jer, now sporting a lovely flower crown, looks about as touched as a block of granite. His patience gone, he orders her to clean up the failed demon eggs by powering up her abilities. She clenches her small fist, ready to carry out her gruesome janitorial duties. And by clean up, he means she punches an egg, causing it to explode in a shower of gore. This number Roman 19 is visible on her collar as she is splattered with the remains. Covered in viscera, she just stands there, completely numb to the horror of her work. Faye watches the whole scene unfold, his expression hardening with grim understanding. A sinister red aura flares around Zena as her sea of corpses and blood power activates. A massive heart-shaped shadow entity erupts from her back, her talent seal made manifest. This dark parasite expands into a colossal monster with terrifying, glowing red eyes. Faye's own eyes glow a vibrant green, a clear sign he recognizes this horrifying power intimately. It is revealed this seal is a parasite that feeds on slaughter, growing inside its host. This dark power is so immense, only a legendary artifact known as the Wedge of Heaven can suppress it. A painful memory surfaces of his sister begging for help as the parasitic seal consumed her. Jer gets the memo. The only way to stop the monster is to use the artifact stuck in its back. That artifact is the Wedge of Heaven, currently embedded right between the parasite's glowing red eyes. With a roar, Jer rips the wedge free, preparing for some seriously brutal surgery. He then plunges the artifact directly into Zena's back to force the monstrous entity down. Dark energy and blood erupt from the wound as the seal is violently suppressed. Faye, having just arrived, can only watch the horrific scene unfold from the ground. With the parasite sealed away, Jer holds the now unconscious Zena, his grim task finished. Faye's snake familiar, its reconnaissance mission complete, quietly slips away from the scene. Our boy now realizes he cannot win a direct fight and must find a way to free his sister from the king's control. An inner voice asks if he wants to save her or steal her power, but he refuses to let her follow his dark path. His eyes gleam with cold determination, his new objective crystal clear. Meanwhile, a purple-haired demon commander decides to hold off on her attack until Jer is alone. She belittles a group of newcomers, basically calling them useless kids trying to earn brownie points. To get rid of them, she writes a letter of recommendation to some Hoya as a reward for their help. This green-haired girl and her pals are absolutely thrilled, accepting the letter like it is solid gold. They are already dreaming of buying big houses and becoming earls. Great career planning, guys. Their commander just smirks, casually mentioning that people who plan for after the war tend to die. Suddenly, all their glorious future plans evaporate into pure, unfiltered panic. She finds their terror absolutely hilarious, laughing as her subordinate just stares blankly. Back at his villa, Matias reviews his grand plan over a game of chess, the perfect villain hobby. His pawns represent his growing army, all neatly tucked away in a place called Mudcow Town. Next on the checklist is capturing Princess Yvette, a task he is confident his useless minions can handle. This only snag is a missing ally who sold out Jer and Jelong's arm, a loose end he cannot find. This takes us back a year to the ruins of White Road City, where he was counting on a key player. He and a subordinate walk through the ruins to meet an eternal demon king, with Matias acting like he's got it all figured out. Suddenly, a strange, ornate ball rolls to a stop right in front of him. His eyes narrow, instantly recognizing this is not just some random piece of trash on the street. From a makeshift throne, a long-haired demon king with purple markings asks for his ball back. Matias politely picks it up, approaching the powerful being with his lackey in tow. He offers a deal to heal the demon's body, while his partner secretly signals to be ready to bolt at the first sign of trouble. This mysterious gift he brought is Jelong's severed arm, which he offers up like a party favor. But the Demon King refuses, citing personal grudges and a complete lack of interest in the drama. Matias is left hanging, his brilliant opening move totally shut down. He quickly pivots, promising to find better limbs in exchange for future assistance, a classic upsell. In a flashback, a hand moves a chess piece as someone thanks a ruler named Hoya for their mercy. This King Hoya agrees to spare the old nobles, letting them keep some of their titles and land. But a younger, terrifying Matias tells him the game has already started and he does not get to quit. Elsewhere, a red-haired girl on a leash draws on a wall as a massive shadow looms over her. She just looks up with a cheerful smile, happy to see her visitor again, which is deeply concerning. Back in a dungeon, Faye, cloaked and radiating dark energy, confronts the red-haired girl from before. His expression is pure deadpan, giving absolutely nothing away as he takes in the scene. He spots a chalk drawing on the wall of a monster, a girl, and another person holding hands, a real modern family portrait. This girl, however, is practically vibrating with excitement, begging him for a story from the outside world. He starts by asking if she knows White Road City, which she has only heard was a rich and developed place. A flicker of melancholy crosses his face as he prepares to dive into this particular tale. He tells her this story is about someone she might find familiar, which is never a good sign. And so we flash back 33 years to the grand, perpetually rainy metropolis of White Road City. This is where a certain child happened to be born in autumn, right in the middle of the dreary season. We see his parents, poor but clearly overjoyed as they dote on their newborn baby boy. His mother's hands were always stained a deep purple from her grueling work as a dyer. As a young boy, he just watched the rain, a wilting flower his only companion by the window. Meanwhile, his father was always coughing his lungs out from working in a forge. This neighbors, of course, are just lovely, calling the kid a mute and a burden as the family passes by. His dad fiercely defends him, insisting he is just a late talker, but the gossipers just brush it off. To make matters worse, taxes are going up again to fund the military against a peasant uprising. His parents are crushed, wondering aloud how they will even survive the year. And the little boy turns around, having heard every single desperate word. He just runs up and hugs his dad's leg, offering a bright, innocent smile to try and cheer them up. For a moment, their worries fade as they smile back, his father giving him a loving pat on the head. His father gives him a few coins, telling him to be a good boy and buy their usual cheap bread. While at the bakery, he overhears gossip about a massive peasant uprising that is gaining traction. Clutching his purchase, the kid walks alone through a desolate, rain-slicked alleyway. He pauses for a moment, looking back with a quiet, unreadable expression. In the alley, he comes across another boy, this one well-dressed and apparently a runaway. This two of them just stand there in the downpour, a silent meeting of two different worlds. Our little guy then holds up the bag of bread, a simple, wordless offering, but the rich kid is just annoyed, calling him an eyesore for not saying anything. Unfazed, the boy just offers him a single piece of bread with a gentle smile. This other boy's hand closes around the small loaf, a silent acceptance of the kindness. He takes the food, looking down, maybe a little thrown off by the gesture. With his good deed done, the poor kid turns to leave as the other boy starts to eat. But as he walks away, the well-dressed kid continues to watch him go. And just like that, his good karma expires as two thugs corner him for his money. They grab him, but a voice suddenly calls out, shaming them for picking on the weak. It is the rich kid stepping in to play the hero with a very dramatic pose. These thugs are just delighted, seeing this as a buy one, get one free robbery opportunity. He scoffs at their survival of the fittest excuse, calling them ignorant barbarians. With the poor boy watching, he delivers a whole speech on how the strong must protect the weak for civilization's sake. These thugs are completely done with the philosophy lesson, pulling knives and telling him to shut his mouth. This rich kid suddenly unleashes his own talent seal, King of Kings, declaring he will not tolerate these beasts. And just like that, the thug's tough guy act completely melts into pure, unadulterated terror. A blast of purple energy sends the goons tumbling backwards as our boy just watches, completely stunned. His eyes are wide with disbelief, having just seen his new friend do whatever that was. He then turns to our boy, telling him there is no need to kneel, protecting the weak is just what he does. Tossing the bread in the air, he smugly adds that he has already received his gratitude for the rescue, and so begins a friendship with the two boys sharing a single loaf of cheap bread in the rain. This seasons pass and we see them playing together in the winter snow, a real dynamic duo. By spring, they are running through sunny fields, inseparable and having the time of their lives. Then in summer, they are just hanging out by a stream, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. But the rain always returns to White Road City, and one day they are walking somewhere with purpose. Our boy is practically dragging his friend along, who calls him Little Mute and asks what is so exciting. Turns out the big event is a public hanging with the whole town gathered to watch. His friend is less than thrilled, complaining he'd rather be in a library than watching this spectacle. But the mute kid just points insistently, trying to draw his friend's attention to the stage. On the gallows, a man is sentenced to hang for being a multiple offense thief. This trapdoor drops and the man struggles violently against the rope as he chokes. It is a truly gruesome sight, his face contorted in agony in his final moments. And as this horror unfolds, our little mute boy just watches with a serene, chilling smile. His friend, however, is absolutely horrified, finally seeing the darkness hiding behind that innocent face. After the hanging, his horrified friend leans against a wall, clearly sickened by the whole ordeal. He declares he is never coming back, telling our boy the future Chief Justice cannot hang out with commoners. Yet as they walk, he vows to reform the cruel laws one day, a real man of the people from his mansion. This city is a tale of two worlds, with a shining castle looming over the rain-soaked slums below. A flash of motion cuts through the downpour, something tossed through the air. It is a beautifully crafted ball caught by a small hand. In a happier memory, his friend waves goodbye, promising to play again tomorrow. But on his way home, our boy overhears rumors of arrests. The lords are cracking down on rebel sympathizers. Meanwhile, the rich kid gets a chilly welcome home with his father waiting for him. A massive shadow falls over him as he is scolded for neglecting his studies. Fun time is officially over. His dad lays down the law. The future Chief Justice does not hang out with street trash. For his punishment, he is grounded for a week to memorize a giant book of laws. What a page-turner. This father then heads off to a noble council meeting, leaving his son to his light reading. Our boy is back outside, happily playing with that ornate ball in the rain, completely oblivious. A guard shoves him aside, rudely telling the peasant to get out of his way. He tumbles to the wet ground, the precious ball rolling out of his reach. As he crawls toward it, he looks up and sees something that stops him cold. His eyes go wide with pure shock and terror. Soldiers are rounding up his parents, accusing their workplaces of selling goods to the rebel army. He desperately clings to them, crying as they are dragged away, his world shattering in an instant. His parents are dragged away by guards, their desperate cries echoing in the rain as he watches helpless. He collapses in the street, reaching for the departing wagon as his friend's gift rolls away forgotten. Meanwhile, the noble council debates crushing the rebel sympathizers with zero mercy to make an example of them. This Chief Justice, his friend's dad, seems to hesitate, suggesting executing over 100 people might be too cruel. For a moment, the entire council just waits on his decision, the fate of many resting in his hands. But his face darkens and you just know the merciful part of the speech is over. He argues that a harsh crackdown now will prevent a much bloodier civil war later, a classic for the greater good play. His final verdict is to choose the lesser evil, which apparently means a whole lot of public hangings. Our boy frantically pushes through the crowd, trying to reach his parents as they are led to the gallows. From below, he can only watch their faces, twisted in pure terror before the drop. He is on his knees, screaming, completely powerless as his entire world is executed right in front of him. And there it is, the moment that breaks him, forced to watch his parents hang in the pouring rain. Nearby, a couple of guards watch the kid, casually deciding not to let him get away. These absolute gems start making bets on how long the newly orphaned kid will survive on the streets. One gives him half a day, the other says 2 hours, real stand-up guys these two. Back in the mansion, his rich friend is just staring out the window, completely unaware of the horror unfolding. He just comments on the heavy rain, a little worried but with no idea why. An attendant reminds him he is still grounded until he memorizes that giant book of laws his dad gave him. This kid insists on going out, saying he has a bad feeling about the day. Yeah, no kidding, Sherlock. But the attendant blocks the door, trapping him inside while his friend's life is destroyed by the very laws he is studying. This attendant gives the kid a stone-cold lie, insisting nothing is happening outside. Just a little bit of rain, he says, as the door to the mansion stays firmly shut. And by nothing, he means a whole row of people hanging from the gallows. Our boy is desperately trying to hold up his parents' bodies, refusing to let them go. In his mind, he hears them telling him not to worry, a final heartbreaking goodbye. His face is a mask of pure agony, the horror of it all finally sinking in. Their voices echo, begging him to stop suffering and just let them go. But he just keeps holding on, trying to support a weight he never should have had to bear. His feet start to slip on the rain-slicked platform, his strength failing him. This struggle is impossible, his small frame giving out under the strain. And with one last slip, he loses his grip completely. He collapses into the water below, the last connection to them severed. Staring up with empty, tear-streaked eyes, the kid is completely and utterly broken. He is just a small, crumpled heap on the ground beneath the bodies of his parents. Then one of the guards strolls over, calling him useless trash, customer service at its finest. This absolute winner complains the kid cost him his bet by not holding on for 10 more minutes. After that touching display of empathy, he shoves the boy and tells him to get lost. But suddenly the kid grabs his arm, a strange yellow energy crackling around his hand. This guard is furious, yelling at the stinking mute to let go of him. With his parents hanging above, the boy just holds on tighter, his defiance finally ignited. With a scream of pure rage, the kid unleashes his own talent seal, a blast of golden energy. It slams right into the guards, who are completely blindsided by the sudden power-up. Realizing they are not dealing with a normal kid, the other guards draw their weapons, ready for a real fight. He is already on top of one of them, smashing the guy's face into the pavement with raw fury. Another guard comes flying in with a massive axe, aiming to split him in two. And the axe connects, sending a spray of blood from our boy's mouth, a truly nasty hit. But even as he is thrown back, he manages to get a stab in, taking his attacker down with him. His power fades as he falls back into the water, his hand still reaching for his parents. Lying there, broken and bleeding, the fight seems to have gone out of him completely. Of course, that is when the archers show up, because overkill is the city guard's official motto. He squeezes his eyes shut, bracing for the inevitable as they take aim. A volley of arrows rains down, forcing him to scramble up the slick wooden platform to escape. One pierces his back, another his leg, but the kid just keeps on climbing. From below, the guards can only watch as their target somehow manages to flee into the dark alleys. They are not giving up though, splitting up to hunt down the little beast through the maze-like streets. This rain just keeps pouring over the city, a perfect backdrop for a desperate rooftop chase. Wounded and alone, our boy stumbles through an alley, an arrow still sticking out of his shoulder. He wanders into a street full of the sick and dying, a lovely tour of the city's forgotten corners. A skeletal man collapses in front of him, begging for a quick end to his suffering. And our kid just stares, the absolute horror of his new reality finally sinking into his empty eyes. A demonic voice twists his friend's words, saying it needs the nourishment of death to help the weak. As a shadowy beast forms around him, he asks what it is, and it calls itself his true partner. He is suddenly choking the dying man, the inner voice taunting him for trying to resist. His eyes glow with a terrifying purple light, the humanity draining away completely. This inner demon insists it is not in control, that this is all his free will, a classic gaslighting move. It then preys on his trauma, asking if he wants to be weak and dominated just like his parents were. This voice calls him a rainstorm, born to sweep across the world and bring destruction. With the demonic mouth whispering in his ear, it asks if he is ready to become unstoppable. His face twists into a horrifying grin, eyes glowing red as he finally gives into the darkness. Meanwhile, the guards are still hunting for him in the rain-soaked alleys, completely unaware of what is coming. One of the guards stumbles upon the body of the sick man from before, looking confused. He draws his sword, sensing danger, but it is already way too late for him. His eyes go wide in shock as he finally sees the source of the disturbance. This entire alley is now a graveyard of his fellow guards, and he can only ask what happened. From the shadows, our boy appears behind him, looking like a straight-up horror movie monster. And just like that, the whole squad is down, with the kid standing silently over the carnage. Covered in blood, he looks down, the rage fading into something like exhaustion or regret. He lets out a scream of pure agony as dark energy erupts from him, the power taking its toll. Elsewhere in the city, a heavily guarded cart makes its way through the desperate crowds. People are begging for the milk on the cart, pleading that their children are starving, but the guards refuse. A younger guard suggests sparing some milk, but his partner says it is for a noble's bath priorities people. This Lady Talia apparently gets her power from fear, making her the city's top-tier nightmare fuel. This older guard then lectures about being a shepherd to the commoner sheep, which mostly involves whips. His philosophy is simple. The more afraid people are, the more obedient they become, a real humanitarian. And just as he asks, "Do you understand?" our boy appears and slices his partner in half. Guess that is a no. This entire milk cart explodes in a shower of barrels, knocking the guards completely off their feet. Now surrounded by an angry mob, the lead guard is finally realizing his day is about to get much worse. With the younger guard bleeding out, our boy picks up a broken piece of pottery from the ground. He just drinks the rainwater from it, covered in blood and looking completely feral at this point. This guard, still clueless, threatens him for being an audacious commoner with a death wish. In response, our boy brings a massive, bloody scythe down on him with zero hesitation. This guy immediately starts begging, pulling the classic "I was just following orders" card, what a hero. But the voices of the unjustly executed rise up, asking why nobles get to live while they starve. Our boy, now the vessel for all their rage, is about to deliver some long overdue justice. This single act of vengeance ignites a full-blown uprising across the entire city. Elsewhere, a well-dressed man directs guards as Lady Talia watches the chaos unfold from under her umbrella. Her attendant reports a small-scale riot caused by a beast, which is a cute way of putting it. When asked to help, she sighs that it is a pain because she just got her nails done. The struggle is real. Meanwhile, the commoners are in an all-out war with the city guards, a bloody street battle erupting. Lady Talia finally arrives on the scene where the rebels, led by our boy, are waiting for her. Lady Talia, with a look of pure contempt, gives the order to execute every last rebel without mercy. In response, the commoners are absolutely losing it, a wave of pure, unadulterated rage. A burning spiderweb symbolizes their ignited fury. They have absolutely no fear left. And just like that, the entire city goes up in flames, a full-scale revolution under the rain. From the balconies to the streets, it is just a sea of bodies as the brutal battle rages on. Meanwhile, the Chief Justice shoves his son into a room, telling him to hide and stay put. With the heavy doors slammed shut, the rich kid is locked away from the chaos his dad helped create. He is banging on the door, screaming for his father, desperate to get out and help somehow. Staring out the window, he finally sees the hellscape his city has become. Then he remembers the wall-climbing tricks our boy taught him, a little something for a rainy day. Having no other choice, he just smashes the window to pieces, making his own dramatic exit. He crawls through the broken glass, not caring about the cuts, totally focused on getting outside. His face is pure determination. The sheltered rich kid act is officially over for good. Looking down, he sees his father cornered by none other than our boy, who is looking different. This rich kid screams for his dad, absolutely horrified to see his best friend standing there like a demon. Our boy, covered in blood, just tells the Chief Justice to run, a final warning maybe. Suddenly, his friend erupts with purple energy, leaping down to intervene. Looks like he has got powers too. This kid meets his gaze, glowing with red-hot rage, ready for the fight of their lives. Outside, lightning cracks across the sky because of course it does. This is peak drama. And there it is, the two former best friends about to clash, powered by grief and rage. This Chief Justice's son glares down, his own power flaring up, ready to stop his friend. Our boy looks back, the monster fading for just a second to reveal the kid underneath. He tries to speak, maybe an apology or a warning, but cannot get the words out. From the broken window, his friend can only watch as the situation spirals completely out of control. With a roar, our boy lunges forward with that giant scythe, ready to end this one way or another. And in the aftermath, he walks alone through the ruins, realizing there were no winners here. His power burns through him, a searing agony that consumes what little humanity he has left, leaving him a smoldering wreck in the rain, more of a monster than a boy. Elsewhere, a chained girl asks a cloaked dude why everyone's story has to be so tragic. He explains that the dark power inside someone cannot actually control their mind, just their actions, insisting that every terrible thing our boy did was ultimately his own choice.